Welcome to the Vertex Podcast. I'm sitting down with creative professionals of all types each week to get more into the human side behind their incredible work. I get into what fuels their creative drive in hopes to show you that your journey might be similar and that your dreams might be closer than they appear. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get into it. Okay, so you said that you were definitely growing up a fan of cooking
Yes.
because you did it so much with your family, and also with music because
Primarily my mom. My dad was a whole nother thing. My dad was more music. My mom was more,
So okay, so like one parent had so your dad had the music, your mom had the cooking, and you just, it sounds like you bonded with the both of them through those respective areas.
Yeah, mainly because my mom, she also did music, but she was more of a dancer, kind of like she just likes to vibe out. And anytime she'd be in the kitchen, she'd be cooking, dancing, to whatever was on the radio, and or gospel. But my dad, on the other hand, was more into he was into jazz, like Miles Davis. Like I have a whole bunch of Miles Davis shirts and all this other stuff, and he was into Earth, Wind and Fire, a whole bunch of funk and everything. So I got a good exposure of just full genres of music, just being around my parents, because they not only raised me, but they raised my two older sisters, which one was in a marching band and the other one was in orchestra. So it was just I was getting the exposure of the classical side and the big band, and then I started diving into hip hop and alternative rock and all that kind of stuff.
So that was your own venture, was into the hip hop and into alternative. Okay.
Yeah.
Who was that entryway? Who kind of got you into hip hop like that?
Oh man. Honestly, the way I got exposed to hip hop was more so kind of like the action from the effect of hip hop, which was breakdancing. I was big into people who break dance or break or anything like that, like pose, pop lock, any of that. I liked all those styles and stuff, and it was just something that I wanted to dive more into. And then when I used to watch, what was it? I think it was Beat Street. I think it was that one. It was a few other ones that like breakdancing was big, and I just started listening to all the songs that came from what they were dancing to. So it was at Sugar Hill, Run DMC, Jam Master Jay, all that. I mean Jam Master Flash, all that stuff, and DJs too. So a lot of that, the whole scratching and all that, I just dived into the the effects of what people were saying off the mic and stuff like that, how people were affected by it. So that's what started out. So to answer your question, it was more just an explosion of just a lot of people from all over all at once.
So then that interesting. And you're kind of putting it all together for yourself too, because I remember you were speaking earlier whenever you were explaining about what you love for cooking is how you can put so many different things together and it makes people happy. And it's it sounds like you're kind of doing the same thing there with your music, but probably for yourself, huh?
Yeah. So a normal day for me, especially listening to music nowadays, is funny thing, when I wake up, I already have a song playing in my head. It's so weird. It's the weirdest thing, but it's something that just randomly happens. And I just go from whatever song is playing, and then I just do a shuffle of music throughout the day. So depending on, I guess, how I'm getting up, sometimes I'll play something random, the new Justin Bieber album or something like that, and then I'll switch over to something that's real heavy, like an underground, like Earl Sweatshirt, like an old track, or some kind of Alchemist, or even something real eclectic, a whole bunch of music that people probably wouldn't know, or maybe they do know, but Kilala or something like that, or I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but it's R&B stuff, or even Cleo Soul, like a lot of stuff that like people do know or may not know. I don't know,
Mm.
but
Are you
it's just
listening?
a mixture.
Mhm.
Hmm?
Go for it.
No, no, I was saying it's just a mixture, and it's like a collage. It's like making a collage piece.
Mm. Are you listening to music like throughout the whole day, or is it just kind of like as you get up and get to work, or is it like, you know, just around like lunchtime or something? Or
I think when I'm moving, whenever I'm moving, I listen to music. Like when I'm like moving about, if I'm not with like a group of people and I'm by myself, I like to listen to music because it's just something. It really helps me channel like my thoughts better. Because, like I said, I when I'm up and about, like my creative mind is everywhere,
Mhm.
and somehow music kind of helps me like narrow it down a little bit. And I think that's more of like the ADD side of me, where I'm just like constantly just like my attention is like somewhat short sometimes. So I need something to go off of that gives a good rhythm that I can just ground myself from.
Yeah,
So
like kind
that's
of with
something
that
that
metronome, like that rhythm, just kind of keeps you on one accord.
hmm
Mm.
So yeah, that's something that over time I noticed, and it created a good cadence for me because there's certain music I would listen to that will help me get through certain pieces that I would do. And that can change the tone of like how happy it is, or how dark it could be, or how how bubbly it could be, like things like that. I would literally purposely play to kind of like alter the way I see things.
So, do you have okay, okay. That's really cool. So, give me the do you have any like go-tos? Like I'm kind of imagining like a set of like a little pill box, like like the Monday through Friday like pill box.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
instead of Monday through Friday, it's like emotions like happy, angry, sad, dark, light, emotional.
Uh-huh.
So, who's in each like do you have an artist or a song or an album where you're like, if I need to if I need to get into this bag, this is who I'm going to. This is,
100%.
when I need my work to be grungy, I'm going to this person right here. Like, do you have those?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, with no biased opinion, I have some things that are more personal that I see as like, oh, this is sad. This is something that make me feel bubbly. So,
Uh-huh.
like for example, oh my gosh, I'm getting so excited. Okay, so for example, uh, what's his name? Oh, Porter Robinson. The album that he did that's like, oh my god, not the recent one, but the one, oh my gosh, it's the one where he's laying in the field. That to me is the most bubbliest, the most ride your bike type of album I could ever listen to. And every time I listen to that song, that album in general, um, I see a whole bunch of like cyber uh, like anime things that like more of like kawaii, not kawaii, but like some things that are more just like very poppy kind
I
of
feel
colors.
chibi like.
TV, yeah, or like something like that, yeah. And every time I'll do something like that, it gives me that more feel to just change my color palette to something that's more vibrant, more like kind of like clean and earthy, like
Mhm.
greens and light blues and things like
Mm.
that, or like bright orange, versus something that's like what's another song, like for example, I'll play like uh ooh, that's a tough one. I'll play like a song that comes from this artist Bilal. I'll play Bilal, and I'll play this abstract album that he did, and it's more like very. It shows like solitude. So like him, or there's another song that he did where it's just kind of like it's called Spiraling. There's a song that he made called Spiraling, which is more so, and even the video that he put out is more like solitude. He does everything by himself. It's a daily routine, and that's things where I'll do my mental health pieces that kind of like isolate certain subject matters to target behaviors that you constantly go throughout the day. So like, for example, that piece, there's a piece that I did with a little girl who was stuck and it was going through depression and things like that. I made that piece and I was playing that song and at the same time simultaneously to strike that mood. So I'll do things like that, or I'll play songs that have more of a isolation to other feelings, and only isolate and only show the solid feeling of sadness or depression or things that where you're trying to overcome but you don't know how to reach it because you're so distracted by all these other emotions.
So it's kind of like it almost feels like a call, like you got all these. It's like a crowd of people, and that's like all your thoughts
Yeah.
and your feelings, and then like it's almost like somebody at the front, like, hey, sadness, come up here, or like
Yeah.
like this specific subject matter, come up here, like earthy, hey, come on up here,
Yes.
see about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Exactly. Have you seen that movie?
Interesting.
What's the movie? With the emotions.
Inside Out.
Inside Out. If you see Inside Out, it is a clear understanding of how sometimes my brain works, where certain ones will step in to take over
Hmm.
for certain reasons, and they will be different colors, and those different colors amplify different uh, uh, like wavelengths or prisms on how I see things,
Yeah.
and then that will project the mood.
Mm. So then in certain pieces that you have, I mean, it's a ton of colors. So are you nodding towards each of those specific emotions when you're using them? Because I use colors just I use them so systematically almost where it has to there's certain like an interlocking, with like saturation and hue and like the contrast between the two for the sake of readability. But are you going based off of just like I want to make sure that I include these specific feelings in here, or how do you go about using color?
Yeah, so like whenever I do color, there's many ways I've tackled it over the years, and I've gotten better with like trying to show those trying to show those differences. Can you hear me now? Did I do
Hmm.
something? Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah, all
Uh,
good.
it, yeah, it shows those differences, and it's like sometimes it comes from references of anime. That's another thing that influenced me a lot, but also it depends on um, kind of like the centerpiece or the subject matter. So if I'm doing like an original character, they have their own personalities, and those personalities reflect the color scheme that I put out for them. Um, and you will see that time by time with those particular characters. Um, but if it's something that has something to do with like everyday life or everyday understanding, then I'll have a certain uh, scheme of colors, but I'll only have them uh, kind of like organized to where they only show within the things that are around the character or around the centerpiece of the piece. But they won't like always uh, kind of like correlate to the overall everything, like everything on the board or everything on the canvas. Like for example, I'll show you real quick. This piece that I did was kind of like a mixtape, and
Hmm.
this one in general is like generally for it's miso tapes, and miso is the cat that I created for one of my characters, and it's just kind of like an opposite, kind of like alternate version of the cat's color palette, which is greens and oranges and yellows and things. So it's supposed to reflect um, more of like a grungier kind of like feel if the cat was listening to hip hop.
Mm.
So that's something that I always try to show, um, like more of a bigger picture kind of setting. So when the time comes when I start animating these characters or when I start telling these stories and they start interlocking, these pictures will pop up or these images will pop up over time and it will all connect because it will be telling a full length story or a full length movie or short. So that's kind of like, not to jump ahead, but that's kind of like some of my goals is to have productions have like full length stories that have morals to them.
Mm, interesting. So yeah, you're putting down like you're already into that world building bag so that
Yeah.
the people that see it already have a sense of context before the story even comes out. Like it'll feel familiar already
Yes.
because you've been subtly introducing it the whole time. And like people are like, "Yeah, you're
Oh,
just making cool pictures." And you're like, "Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah." And then
yeah.
then you hit them with the actual story and they're like, "Wait a minute, why do I understand all of this already?" And it's like,
So
because
like
you've
for
seen it.
example, exactly. So example that Doom, that MF Doom face in the back, I've done that a couple times before, and that was a colored palette that I did 10 years ago, and that was something that was shown at an exhibition 10 years ago. Um, but I just altered how it was perceived on the material. So that's something that I want to show even further. So if I decide I want to go back and to do like another MF Doom piece that has to do with like his clothes and all that kind of stuff, then you'll see a more deeper breakdown of that color palette behind me. That's something that I just see as like development, and I believe in character development, and I get a lot of the influence from like anime and stuff like that. How things become more flat, and then the deeper you go into their shows or like episodes, everything becomes a little bit more diverse and very specific, like how it looks.
Yeah. There's something interesting about that. I've mentioned this a couple times in different episodes of this, but there's something that fascinates me about shows and movies and things that are able to do that. Like they're able to start so simple and broad and just kind of capture your attention. And
Yeah.
it's easy to understand because I take Adventure Time as an example where it's just a boy and his
Mm-hmm.
dog and they're just doing funny stuff, running around, slicing
Venture.
goblins or whatever. Yeah. And then it's like I haven't seen Adventure Time. I haven't seen much of it. Like I haven't seen all the way down into where it gets real, but I've seen little snippets of like certain episodes that I probably shouldn't have seen. And I mean, it gets real. It gets like very real. And
Deep cut. Also,
yeah.
same thing with Steven Universe. I have
Yeah.
both of the, I have the so I have the Adventure Time art book, and I have the right behind me, and I also have the Steven Universe, and they both have that cadence.
Yeah, I didn't even know that Adventure Time had an art book like that one, but I seen that Steven Universe. I gotta pick that up. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
dude.
even the Steven Universe, it's just a kid on the beach playing, trying to eat ice cream and fight monsters, and then I mean they
Trying
go
to
to so
fit in
many
with the
crazy.
city. He's just trying to be like a kid.
Yeah, and there's I mean it takes him to so many different places, but I think that there's an art of guiding a viewer or a reader into your world like that. Like you can't just throw all the lore on them immediately. It has to be palatable at first. It's almost like you gotta give like a little treat first. Like here, like try
Bits
this
and
out.
pieces.
This is fun, right? This is cool, right?
Yeah.
Okay, come a little further, learn a little bit more. And then by the time you start dropping heavy weight on them, they're invested. And it's like, oh shoot, like this is a lot, but I know enough to where, you know, anybody just coming in out of the blue would be like, yo, what is really going on right now? But it's cool to be able to slowly bring people down this rabbit hole that you've created. And that's something that I dream to do too, like with different characters and things. Still fleshing it out, but it's cool to see
Oh
you
yeah.
doing it here already.
I see you. Yeah, I got some of the stickers. So.
Yeah. So where did art start making its way into your life? If cooking and music were so huge, what made you pick up a pencil instead of like trying to go more down like the chef route or musician route?
Oh well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Oddly enough, even when I was in those worlds of like the food and music, um, art was. since I was like able to hold a pencil. Like it was almost like a thing as a toddler. I was in preschool growing up, and I used to get in trouble for not taking a nap because I would be spending my time talking to people while I draw, and that was every day. So I used to, so even with that, knowing my parents, I used to get whoopings every day uh in preschool because I would not go to sleep. My
Mhm.
mind during the day, because you have the day naps as but it would just never go to sleep. I would just I was a daydreamer. I still am a daydreamer. I daydream constantly, and that was something that I just couldn't figure out how to get it out. Um, and I would just draw and sketch all the time. And even when I was in trouble, I used to be set in a corner. And funny enough, I would stare at the corner and be picturing what can I draw on this wall. Even though I didn't draw it, I just be just moving my finger around on the wall. It was just like a weird kind of like thing that I had for myself that I just was constantly trying to envision or imagine like creating stuff. I don't know exactly where it came from. It could have been just other inspirations growing up as like, as a kid, um, or just seeing stuff. But something about being in Atlanta, growing up and being born and raised here, there was just so much that I've seen as a kid. Um, and I don't know, it's just constantly happening to me.
Mm. So then I know that it's natural for kids to draw. Like that's pretty common for like a kid to want to draw. But then there's a certain type of environment or certain level of support that you get from people around you, or maybe even a certain level of satisfaction you get in yourself to to be able to keep pushing on it. And so for you, which of those things do you think it was that allowed you to keep going with it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So for man, that's a good question. So for that one, I was mainly just trying to, I guess for me, it was more so like a challenge to myself. I guess like I was more so like, because I didn't really have siblings that did art. Like they did music, they did, cooking, they did dance, they did a whole bunch of other stuff. Um, my sisters may have mentioned like try to urge me to do more of my art because they thought it was different from what they did. Um, but other than that, it was just more so just me. And having that kind of like isolation kind of pushed me to like look at myself and was like, you know, I didn't want to do what my sister did. I didn't want to do what my little brother did because that would have been competition. And as
Mm.
much as competitive I can be, I just didn't want to go there because it can get dirty, it can get messy. So I wanted to stay in a lane that I can have more control over and less uh, commentary. It was just like more so like narration. Like everything was just kind of like, oh, I can't draw this, but I wonder if I can draw that. Like if that Dragon Ball Z character is something that I finished up and I can, can I do it better? Can that kind of make the hair sharper or, can it, can it do spirals, all kinds of stuff. Like I was just like one of those people growing up where I was just like so curious of like where this could take me, and I thought it was really cool because I would go on TV, I would look on TV, and I would see people do it as a career one or two times. It wasn't like a big thing back then, but at the times when I did see it, it was like Bob Ross. Hey, look at me! I'm doing this so casually, and out of just scraps of paint. So I thought that was just amazing to see. And everybody was like glued to the screen like they were watching a championship. I thought that was just cool to be in that kind of like spotlight where you did your own thing. You were not on a team. You were just by yourself.
Mm. Yeah, I wish I don't know what happened, but I missed Bob Ross. Like I missed it. Like all the episodes, all the shows, all
Yeah.
the first time I actually sat and watched Bob Ross was when the people started doing the live streams on Twitch of Bob Ross. And I understand. I understand. I found myself getting caught up in it. I'm like, damn, this is amazing. Like, this is great. Why? Where was this when I was
Uh-huh.
coming up? But it's
Even
really
with me,
cool.
there was another show I used to watch as a kid. It's an
Mhm.
old one. I don't think anyone knows it, but this might even show my age. But it was this show called Pappy Druid,
Pappy
and I
Druid.
used to, yeah. Well, it's not. I don't know if that's the name of the actual show, but I know his name was Pappy Druid,
Hmm.
and he would have this whole thing where he would just do this whole skit or run of just like drawing stuff. It was kind of like a Blue's Clues kind of setup. And I would be at the end and he would be like, hey, kids, if you have any drawings, try to mail them in, P.O. Box such and such. And I was so
Mm.
little that I didn't even know how to even mail anything, but I'll just be drawing and shoving stuff in mailboxes every morning, hoping that the mailman would take it.
Please take it to that man on the TV.
Didn't put a stamp on anything, just be drawing. And I guess whoever was doing the mail was like, I
These
don't know who
drawings are for
drawing
me.
this, but I guess it's for me. Exactly. So,
That's hilarious. But that's
so
cool.
my determination to just connect with another creative was like at an early age. It was
Mm.
just,
So you were very interested in, it sounds like running your own race, just because
yeah,
there with artwork, I mean, art can be competitive, but I don't think that naturally it is. I think that it is something that everyone kind of goes on their own tempo, their own frequency,
yeah,
and you might connect with people along the way, but it's not something where there's no number one artist. You know,
right,
somebody's favorite artist might be the same person, like least favorite artist or something. You know, so
yeah.
it all just, it's all subjective.
It's almost like an Easter egg hunt. So where it's just like who can get the most eggs, get your prize, or you'll have different prizes and stuff. But you don't know what's gonna come from that egg. It can be something that's for you. It can be something that's for someone else. But um, the more you grab the eggs, the more possibilities that you can come across. And the beauty of it is that it's not all the same. Sometimes it's different
Mhm.
experiences. It could be the same, item or certain discovery, but a different point of view. And that's the cool thing about art is that even if you're in the same lane of understanding, your point of view, your POV changes.
Yep.
Like because everyone thinks different. That's
Mhm.
just fact. But it's just more of like things where I'm just like always trying to connect and see how other people think about something. And that it started at an early age, and I always was just that curious. So,
Mm. And so those Easter eggs, whenever you were explaining it to me, I thought that the Easter eggs were particular interests that you saw. So something like the cooking, something like
mhm.
the music, maybe sports or whatever. But from listening to you finish all the way through, it's also other people and their perspective on those same things too. And so it's like
Yeah.
you're seeing that, and then also it's like, oh man, I could also take this and put this in my basket with everything else that I got going on. And so you're like, it
Mhm.
sounds like you're almost casting a wide net so that you can try and find the most connections possible, or just trying to
Mhm.
find that right ratio, that mixture of something that just makes something beautiful, makes something perfect.
Yes, yeah. That's literally it's it starts at like those elementary kind of like games or situations where you're either Easter egg hunting or you're going trick or treating, and you have just like a basket full of just different things, and you're just
Mhm.
picking it out. You're not immediately accepting everything. And that's just like with art. You don't immediately accept everything. It's almost really hard to multitask in that situation. So sometimes you take certain things and try it out. And if it pans out to be something that fully connects with you, you'll keep it. And then anything else will be something that you just like um either pass on to someone else, be like, hey, here's some candy. I don't really like this candy. You like this candy? And then they'll take it. They're like, oh yeah, I like this. This is something I can use or, eat later when I'm hungry or something like that. But it's just like that same situation with art. It's just like it's it's always changing and evolving. And most people who are more curious evolve with it. So they may like something at first, and then they probably won't like it, you know, maybe later, and they want to like share it to someone else that may like it or something like that, or introduce someone else. So it's just like, yeah, it's a competition sometimes in that feeling and sense, but also it's also giving off information and trying to uh, kind of like, a, I don't know, like almost evolve the spectrum, like make it. I don't know a good word for that, but like just kind of like uh, enhance the experience.
Push the boundaries, push the envelope
Mm,
a bit on what's even possible or conceivable.
yes,
So
in
then
numbers.
in numbers.
Yeah, in numbers, in different
Hmm.
individuals as well. So like, it starts off as just you, and then the goal is, well, from my point of view, is to broaden the situation, but also pick along other creatives to possibly make it a little sharper of a voice.
Mm. So when was when was the first time that you realized it was a system like this? What did you put together? What was that first grand discovery, that golden egg? And you were like, "Oh, this is how the game works."
Yeah, so okay, that was something after college. um I mean, long before, I used to do a lot of projects and a lot of things, but all this time after college, I always wanted to throw like art shows.
Mhm,
So right after I did college, I made a pact to, well, there were two things I made a pact to,
mhm,
and that is for art shows almost every weekend or every quarter, and also go to concerts.
okay.
Because I was really into music, so I just every weekend concerts, and I had like a movie theater job, so I used to just like work in a movie theater, through art, use that money to you know set up the art shows, get some of my friends that I was coming from college, and we would just invite people out, or either put it together and do that, and then go to concerts the next weekend and get inspired from the concerts, and then go through the more art shows, and it was just kind of like a really cool cadence. And then we did one art show where we had a really, like, it was actually one of our first big art shows, and we made like a grand that night, which was like big. It was for us, making a grand for a whole night after college, after the
Yeah.
struggles, was like wow, we can actually do this if we really wanted to take it serious, like really serious. But that was kind of like a good way to like understand, um, you know, what you can do if you have the right people around who are all thinking about similar things. And that was like amazing to see for me, uh, and others that were like similar to me.
Mm. What was the how do I word this question? So, who all were you were you cooking these initial ideas up with? You're like, we all made
Oh,
this in a night. Like, who are these people?
okay. So like some of them, I mean, I still contact on a daily,
Hmm.
and then others, they're so busy, I sometimes I'll just leave messages. But one of them, well, a couple of them that were coming out of college, uh of course, one of my homies that I still hang with, and he still like comes and assists me, and it's always like, hey, yo, what's the next move, like going to a gallery. It was my homie Quay. If y'all, and he was one of the ones that just just was always just super excited just to get things started. And he's an animator, so he saw things in motion. Everything was always like in motion, or like, you know. And then I had others which I would just invite to events when I could. And at that time, I met a lot of people, and one of them was Leia, and she was kind of looting hella Leia, and she was kind of new to Atlanta scene around her time with her husband, and she was trying to look for like kind of like outlets of like creativity, and I would just like reach out to her. I'll reach out to her, um, and I never knew a duct tape artist, so I was like, whoa, this is I want to see what it looks like, you know, like
Yeah.
so I would invite her to like one or two of my art shows over in the past, and she would just showcase her work, and it was something that she didn't really look for it to like sell it. She was just kind of like, you know, I just want to show my work. I don't want to sell it. I just want people to see it. So I thought that was amazing to see that perspective, and that gave me more understanding on how you can create an experience versus just creating uh, a sale or a setup. And that gave more knowledge to me over time about how special it is to create an experience within a setup like a show or exhibition.
You know, I was looking up, I was lurking down your social media when I was doing some research, and I saw an old picture from like 2017, and it was of you, and it had Quay in there, and it had Leia in there, and it had a couple of people I didn't recognize. Is this like some of those moments that you're referencing? Is like probably something like that, and and
Yes.
what's so crazy? I didn't even realize. I thought, I guess we kind of just came up different sides of the mountain because I did not know that, like, I had known of you for a long time, but I did not know that Leia and that Quay were around for that long, like since that long. I thought they were like very new to the art scene. And I was like, yo, they've been out here since before I got up out of here, man. This is crazy. It's like, where y'all been at?
Yeah. A lot of times we would have run-ins, like so like because like some of my like day one like coming out of college was this guy named Alex Cleve I can't say his last name all the time, but his art name was Alex KMP.
Okay.
And then other one was Jorge Martinez, and they were like super creative in their own way. One of them, Jorge, he did 3D art, and so that's probably what you see in there. And he used to do also like a lot of like you know his stuff was because he was Mexican. A lot of his stuff was like Hispanic,
Mhm.
so he used to do a lot of that kind of nostalgia. And then Alex, he did more of like abstract uh, parts of the face. So a lot of those things were just different. And so we weren't trying to seek different people, but we were trying to seek people that had more of a diversity that can add to our palette. And over time, it's just multiplied. So then I started seeking out people who did just different stuff sometimes. Where there was this guy named Stephen Lotus, where he would do photography, and he will do an alternate kind of like setup of a photo that turns into like a fever dream. It just looks, it's just amazing, and it will look like almost like a galaxy that he literally deconstructs from a normal photo. And I would find these individuals, and I would try to like reach out to them and be like, hey, you want to go to an art show or be a part of an art show, and just try to set up some art and just see if people just have interest in it. So because that would just let me know um, where my audience is in that area. And to me, I was trying to grow as not just as a creative, but as kind of like a creative seeker. So that was like something I just want to see. Where is, you know, where is the curiosity at? And that was my way of like doing that, is to just throw these shows and see if people have interest in this.
You
So
sound like you were on your Nick Fury, using your Nick Fury bag, you searching out all the superheroes and put them together, trying to save the world.
except I didn't have an eye patch. I had the glasses, but you know,
Uh-huh.
I haven't got to the eye patch yet.
So I hope you don't get no eye patch.
I'm
You
gonna
better
put
keep
them
both of them. But so is this in, is this in around 2016, 2017, or when exactly did this stuff start coming together, or how
So
long
it
did this
was it was
last?
it became, yeah, I think it was like 20 between 2014 is when things start to really kick, and then 20 like 50, like 2016 2017 is when things start really developing, because it took a while. It took more of like brand development. That was a point in time where I used to do like with the same guys that I mentioned. I used to we used to do screen printing, like t-shirts, and that was even during the times, the last year, the senior year of our college year, and we were like just in the lab. And if you knew me in school, I was in the lab every day, just um, creating designs, creating stuff. I graduated from college as a graphic designer, so everything was just like concepts after concept after concepts. And so my storytelling changed over time because I had series. I had put everything into series, and there was never like a resting period for me. So, and then when I got with my homies, that's when things really amplified, because then they were like looking at it and like, oh, we can work on this, or we can work on that, or they were like, oh, I got something to show you, I want to work on, and then we would just like take it and use the weekend or the next month to be like, oh, let's focus on this and see if we can maybe even make a show or a pop-up or do something. And we would just like constantly go and build until we got to a year where we was like, we got material. So
So then, what were you all building towards? And it might be like hard to. It might sound like a weird question, but I mean that in the sense of you guys are clearly building something, and it's starting some traction, and it's got some momentum, and you have good
mm,
members on the team, and you know all the stoves are cooking. But like,
yeah.
where was your sales pointing towards? Like, did you have an ultimate, like, we're going for this mountaintop, or is it just kind of like we're just moving, man, this is just what it is? Like, I'm curious. I'm the type of person who likes to kind of point at the mountaintop and then just like trudge my way through. But other people like to just pick a direction and go, or they just like to see the wheels moving. And so
Yeah.
I'm curious as to
So
what your approach was for it.
yeah, so initially we were like, at first it was kind of like after we got that thousand, we were like, I'm just trying to chase the bag. But but then we start noticing like, oh, we got to pay for all these like supplies for the next venture, or we got to like do all this kind of stuff. So we were like, if we're gonna do this, and even when we was around like our parents and stuff, because our parents are always involved in any kind of development, unless you just on your own and you just got it like that. Your parents, auntie, or some kind of guardian is involved, and you talk
Hmm.
to them and they talk to you and they give you feedback. So at that point we were like, oh, if we're gonna not go after our careers as like what we when we were coming out of college, in the meantime, what are we going to do to keep this going? And at that time we decided to create more of a business setup of it, like doing like t-shirts for companies or like for groups. And we started out doing that, and then it got more serious to where we were like, we need to store a lot of this stuff. At first, it was just like my friend's basement and my
Yeah.
other friend's basement or something like that, and we would have like all the different like tools, whether it's like screen printing or dryer belt, or just like we'll have like art supplies, canvases. I have some over at my house, and we would just bounce back and forth. But that took a lot of toll, and there was a point in time where we had a chance to invest in a shop. We were going to open up a shop in Decatur, well, not in Decatur, but near Emory University. And that was a situation where we had a chance, but then like the lawyer or the attorney had like skipped out on us because we were
Oh.
on a list, and it just didn't work out, and it got messy in that way. And we were just like, well, we need to do more research because apparently we need to you know get better knowledge on how to set up a business. And that was something that we were still learning as we were growing into the business world. So
Mhm.
that
So
that to me, I think, was something that where we were like, if we're not going to do this, then we need to push towards that, venture. And if we didn't do that venture, then we were like, okay, let's focus on something that we can handle, which is like throw shows consistently that will create a good audience and make a lot of people happy.
Mm. That's so cool that you all knew so early on that you could get your own thing going. Because somebody like me, especially in college, I was so big on trying to get to be a part of other people's stuff. Like, I want to get in this gallery. I want to work for this company. I want to be on this project. But you all just had the grit and the knowledge to be like, well, we can just do our own thing. We can just build our own table, which is which is very admirable to me. 'Cause I've struggled with that coming up, and I definitely um, just very recently started to kind of change direction and start to do my own thing. But it's
Hmm.
very refreshing because then you whenever you're working for somebody else too, you're gonna be very happy, but then there's gonna be like a percentage of it that like you don't really vibe with because it's somebody else's
Yeah,
dream or it's somebody
you
else's
can't take it with you.
right. And you're a small part of this bigger thing, but when you go the other way, it's your creation. You and your homies or your family or whoever you involved with you, it's your dream, and it's ultimately a lot more satisfying, even though it's a lot harder on the front end.
Yes. Even now it can be difficult because there's just so much uh time management, there's so much sacrifices that you have to do subconsciously and unconsciously that you practice every single day. That's just kind of like, hey, instead of me, going to see that movie this evening, let me just sit down and like look over all the events or things I'm trying to set up for the next couple weeks.
Yeah,
Let me look at my calendar, and
yeah.
it's taxing.
What other sacrifices did you make in that time? I'm sure that doing all that, I mean, you had to be locked in. You probably wasn't playing around. Like, you was doing class, and then look, we at it, we hitting it. And so, what other things do you look back on the time and think, not even in a regretful way, but just thinking like, I completely missed out on that part because I was too busy doing this.
Yeah, I mean, there were certain things that I looked at where I was kind of trying to in a way like chase. I think it was more so like um more of my actual career where I was doing graphic design and I was working in a like a like a marketing firm from a corporate office. And so like some things like that, uh I took a term where I was trying to figure it out if it fit for me, and it was something that took more focus, and I had to like cut out that kind of like creative desire to expand my mind to just like possibilities of just doing my own thing and all those kind of things. When you're working in a corporate office, and for like a certain company that just literally targets other people, not you. So you can create these things that come from you and that were like, but it was showing me that I wasn't doing things to develop myself. I was doing things to develop that company. And over time, I did learn things. Not to say that my mind didn't develop. It just developed in its own way where I had to follow certain programs, I had to follow certain rules, regulations, guidelines. And that to me felt like I was putting a stop on my timeline. Like it felt like certain things were paused for the moment, and sometimes that could create anxiety. Other times it was more so like a learning curve, like, oh, if I can figure this out and I can juggle this, I can balance this, maybe I can do it. But then over time I realized that multitasking is not something that human beings are really cut out to do, but we still do it anyway. But it's just like, if you can get it done, then it's a miracle, and if you can't do it, then, well, at least you tried and you failed. So accept it.
Mhm. Interesting. Hmm. Hmm. It's got
But
me with
yeah,
like so
that
many
that
questions. Go for it.
like, huh?
Say what you were saying. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that was like one thing that in the when I was working the corporate world, it was something, and then what made me divert from that was like it was the passing of my father, and that was one of the biggest eye openers because when I was like growing up, I was pushing to uh show more of a what's the word? I was showing more of a kind of like becoming of being a man, or
Mm,
providing for myself or providing for others, and looking at my dad that way, it was showing me like he was a science teacher. He did a lot of other things too, a lot of other businesses, and he was providing for the family and us and my siblings. And so uh, my dad always used to say, like, if you're going to do something, make it make sense. So if
mm,
you're going to create or do art, make sure that it pays for you, pays for the joy that you have, pays for everything, and like over time I start to understand that um as much as I wanted to like show him like, hey, I got part of this marketing firm, I started doing this, I started making money, I made it, he's like, oh, he was so proud of me. But over time I wasn't really truly being truthful with myself on how it affected me as far as like growth, and if I wanted to continue this truthfully. I felt more stressed because it was something that I didn't find the full desire to do. Um, and so I just took a break after he passed. It was just kind of like a pause and be like, yo, like, he's been telling me a lot of this stuff, and I just have to listen to myself and stop trying to just say yes to everything, be like, oh yeah, I got this, you know. But over time, I was like, I need to reset. So I reset, and I worked at like a print shop. I mean, not print shop. I worked at a print shop. I worked at multiple print shops. But I'll get back to you on that. I worked at Staples first, and I just started doing something that was completely left field of the corporate office that I was working in. I was doing the opposite, which was more of the work that most people would send the files to the person, like someone at Staples, and they would just print it out from the companies to show or whatever. So I was doing that for like maybe 3 or 4 years. And within that, I started developing more of my finance of myself, which was more like outgoing, doing art, doing chalk art, which that blossomed from that kind of pause in my life.
Did you so did you take that job out of was there a degree of fear in it? It sounds kinda like when your dad passed, it was like, "Oh shit, like, this is I gotta start, like, getting my joint together. Let me get, like, a real job. Let me do this, let me get this going so that I
Mhm.
can take care of myself like, like I'm supposed to." And, oh, man, that's so, like I'm putting myself in those shoes, and, I mean, I know that's gotta be so uncomfortable too, because I know
Mhm.
that for you and in your own heart, like you want to do this creative work and you want to make sure that it happens, but then it's
And
so
sometimes you feel though you want to make your parents proud of like what you're doing. Like, oh, this is something I'm doing by myself without asking them so much.
mhm, mm. And then like so then trying to balance the two when it was so like driven, and just focused on this one direction, and now you're having to balance, taking care of yourself, also dealing with that side of work, as well as trying to tend to the flame that was already burning strong before this all went down.
Right. You have
Yeah.
the grief that's pulling the energy, and then you
Mhm.
have the flame in which you're trying to keep lit. You're
Mhm.
trying to push in that direction. So it's
Mhm.
like you're running it in fog with a torch,
Yeah.
and you just don't know where it's going to lead to, but you know eventually it's going to go out. And you want to make sure that when you come through that fall, out of that fall, you find some type of source that's for you and not is taking so much from you.
Yeah. So what was your like your daily life? Like what was a day in the life in that version of you's world? Like what types of things were you going through, and what was like front of mind in terms of, I mean, just through waking life?
So within that, it was it was a lot more fast paced. I'll tell you one thing: working in the corporate world was something where it was just kind of like, uh, you know, everything that you learn in that whole buildup of like, at least in my field of like graphic design, was kind of like it's like they just closed the book on everything that we learned, and it was more so like the client. It had nothing to do with like what you learned through portfolio class and all these other classes. It was more so like um, your client for that day, and if you can get the job done, and if you can you get another client? You can get another client. It was more so just like getting projects done within that day, and then also doing it all over again every single day of the week. I mean every single day of the week, and for however so long until you get a promotion. And so like for me, at first it was really cool because I was with one of my colleagues that put me onto it. Um, and his name was Nick Lee, and he's probably living his life just being him. But because he was a very just a very driven like Filipino, and he did uh, like body training, like weightlifting. I
Okay.
forgot what you call it, like
Like
where the
bodybuilding?
man's like the bodybuilding. Yeah, he did
Okay.
bodybuilding over time. But on the other side, he did graphic design, and he found interest in me because of my skill. So he reached out to me, and I got like the job. I worked as a paid intern, and then I moved from paid intern to junior designer, and then senior designer when I was kind of like giving orders to designers that were in India, designers that were in New York, and I was kind of like delegating all of that at a young age. And it was with companies big and small that I was working with. People that I got on the phone with were from like Moscow, Russia, or like Dubai, like all kinds of individuals that I just got exposed to at a very fast pace. And so that taught me more so of like where my head is at. And I think that was like something that woke me up of like, if I want to go down this road, do I want to continue this kind of like fast-paced world where it's not really about me, it's about the people that I'm meeting? Or did I want to desire to set up something that came straight from my structure, my build-up? If I want to make my own studio and have people visit me, you
Mm-hmm.
know um and over time I started to see like that kind of like breakdown, and I started in that introduced me to kind of like appreciate more things that I created. The more I showed a separation from that world.
And that means that the pieces had their own, I mean, outside of the aesthetic, it was just the piece itself. The existence of the piece is like one brick towards building like that next structure that
Hmm.
you want to eventually run, or step away from where you are to go there. And
Hmm.
man, that's so cool. Like how does how did you go about finding the traction in moving in that direction? Especially, I mean, I can think of some people right now where in that scenario where they're in a job that they're working and like it's fine, but it's not their dream job, and
Yeah.
you already have other things going on too. You're grieving and you're figuring out your life, but all you know is that there's another direction that you want to go. Like you want to be in this other castle. And
Right.
like, how do you not get swept under that current, or how can you find the strength or the strategy even to work your way in that direction? How, because a lot of people just kind of like they're holding on and then they just kind of like let it go, or they just kind of fall victim to the circumstances. How were you able to kind of roll out of that corner?
Um. Well, first I prayed.
Hmm.
That was one thing I just like pray or meditate. Like that was something that if I didn't do that, it was really hard to breathe in those situations, or even like you know think straight, think you know about something without just like spiraling. So like that was something that I had to do. And then also I was around a lot of individuals who were not in my world. So having certain friends, certain people who literally are different from your own setup was something to not just distract you, but to show you another tunnel. Like there's literally, while you're in the office tapping away, doing whatever, there's like your friend who's like at a bubble tea shop and he's just like serving the sweetest, most delicious kind of like beverage, and he's relaxing to music. Like he's not really tripping, and that was something I noticed over time when I used to get off of work. I used to see one of my roommate now, which is Leo, and Leo Zambrano, and he was like a person who just did bartending. He did a lot of different things, a lot of restaurants, and I would go visit him after I get off of work, and that was kind of like my breakaway, where I was just kind of like, um, there's hope to my setup if you have other people living and doing things constructively and still think the same way you think, but they don't actually do the actions, then there's a way you can navigate your way to that kind of joy or that kind of release. And over time, I would just visit him in his space on my downtime on the weekends, and I would just like, oh, let me just draw here. You have a chalkboard in this bubble shop, and I would just like draw chalk on it for fun, and that became an outlet. Um, in the middle of my transition from leaving that job or trying to get out of that job, I was just having fun with some of my friends in their own spaces the best way I could. And at that time, doing chalk art was like a thing. And so when I did the chalk art on chalkboards, people started noticing. And a lot of individuals were noticing because it was just something that I just used as a getaway. It was just like my hobby from like since like high school. I did this in high school, like AP art.
Mm,
So yeah,
interesting. And that's that boba tea shop. That was Honey Bubble.
honey bubble, yes, on
Interesting.
pints.
That's how I discovered your work, is by going to Honey Bubble and seeing your work on the chalkboards there.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's so interesting to, like, I would have never known that started off as an outlet, and that it was kind of a something of a catalyst towards you moving in the direction that you wanted to go in life. It's
It
like,
was a healing. It was actually put as like a kind of like a how you get like a sound bath. It was
yeah.
like a visual sound bath. And
Mm,
over time, every time I would come every weekend, I'd be like, what am I gonna draw today? Like I don't know. Like, but I know that they would give me the opportunity to do it. I would make a mess because I'll have to sweep it up every single time.
mhm,
And uh but they would be so nice. Like every employee that he worked with, the owners, they all enjoyed just having me there because I was so excited just to create um from just like nothing, and it would just complement their business because I would want people to see what I've created and see if they knew about it or if it was like a Pikachu. I'm like, oh, I've seen a Pikachu before,
mhm,
but that was just something that I just wanted to get out because it was like I was holding it in for so long.
yeah. Mm. I noticed that the characters themselves too, you would often do characters from like shows and games, but they all had like blank eyes and like stitched mouths. And I was always curious as to what you were depicting when you did that.
So that particular like style and development that I did, and even still, I try to like push it every once in a while when I'm like on a nostalgic reasons. I would do that kind of thing because I had a big influence by um gorillas was a big influence for me. Jamie Hewlett, Tank Girl, like him in general, that artist, he was like to me was just like fun. He had a you know it's like a punk attitude, this like British guy that was just doing just stuff, rebellious kind of like colors and different things, and it was just something that was down my alley. Like it was just fun, and also watching a lot of like things like Coraline or like Nightmare Before Christmas. I used to watch a lot of those things, and they used to always have like stitching or like patterns and things like that. And to me, it just was different. And I was always one of those people that really go after the different stuff, like the things that were just people are like, it was a blessing in disguise. You look at Nightmare Before Christmas, it's supposed to be like this kind of haunted kind of setting, but it was so much joy in that movie. There's so much things that you got. It was like, that's just like a regular dog. It's a Frankenstein dog, but it's still a regular dog that's just trying to have a good time. So it's just like there was just, I was just like certain tropes that I just wanted to reflect upon that style that I was creating, and also to challenge myself at that moment to not use eyes and the mouth as the center point. Because when you look at a portrait or a piece, everyone goes after like, man, those eyes are amazing, or those lips are really telling a story. I wanted to show the colors. I wanted to show the textures. I wanted to show everything else that revolved around it to give a way of what it could be, what it could be basically. And so that was my challenge to myself, is that if if I hollowed out those areas, does it still make the piece the piece? And soon enough, I got a lot of backlash for it. Believe me, I did that as a chalk mural almost every time at Honey Bubble for a while, and a lot of people were even writing on the boards like, "Why are you doing this? Like, what are you doing?" Like stuff like that. Or but over time they start to understand that it was just a style. It was just something that um, was like a creative like venture. It was like a challenge for myself, and people over time started enjoying it. I even did that for like some YouTubers, and they published a book, um and I uh did art of them. They're called Good Mythical Morning. I don't know if you've ever seen that YouTube individual, Zach, Rhett, and Link. Um, Good Mythical Morning. If you ever look them up, I did like I have the book here, but they published my drawing of them as like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, but it had their eyes fouled out, and they was like in their stitched mouth, and they were even saying on the show like, does he want us to stop talking, or does he like, why do he, things like that. And over time it just became a thing where it just draws attention and it shows more curiosity within the piece. And it was just amazing because they still enjoyed it even though of the deficiencies.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's cool how you were able to find that thing. Like that is yet another way of being different. Like you chose the aesthetic because you were inspired by somebody being different, but then that in itself, you know, wanting to show off everything but the most popular parts of the human face, that is also like, that's a way of being different for yourself. And like that's always so admirable because
Thank you.
it's it's that's how you get a lot of good growth in terms of your audience as an artist. Like you have to kind of, you don't have to, but a good strategy most times is doing something that kind of breaks you away from the norm, or you're doing something that's catching attention. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it's like discomfort. Like you're
Yeah.
striking discomfort in people, and you're able to, like, you're facing like backlash and things. And so, especially as, I mean, you weren't a new artist by then, but new artists trying to do that is very scary, because then they're like, they
Yes.
just want people to like the work. They're like, shoot, I put all this work into it. Can
I
I
spent so
try?
much money on like everything, and I made like I did like an art show where I made like at least 10 pieces of that same style, and I was like, I hope they like this, because if they don't like even one of them, I'm like, dang, all this paint I used up. Now I gotta
Yeah.
like go back to the drawing board and like figure something else out.
Yeah. And and some people will really be feeling the type of way about certain things. Like, depending on what you paint and what you go for and what the subject matter is, I mean, people really be at your neck. You're like,
Hmm.
yo, I'm chilling, like, please, like. And
They'll give me like comments. Like I would get like in Instagram. If you look at some of the Instagram comments, like I would get some that would be like, "Oh, this is amazing," and the other ones was like, "That doesn't look right. Like, why are you doing?" Like I'll get like a lot of like just criticism, and I'm just kind of like, um, there's a reason why like everything was a reason why I was doing it, and but it just took more longevity within the vision for me to show um over time, but it was not for other people to see it all the time. It was something that you just had to experience along the way. You know, and and soon enough, it was something that was like a blessing, because when I started to move towards more of a style that showed the kind of like the opposite, where I was using the mouth more, where I was using the eyes more, and the eyes had more colors and more pieces and stars and all this different stuff. Um, it was like an explosion, and people start to understand like I was just holding back because I wanted to show something else, put something else in the front, and that's what being creative, like to me, I think that's what being creative is all about, is that even some of your weaknesses you should show even more, just to show um, like where you can go with it, like what your potential is, what your uh, even finding purpose for yourself. You have to show parts that you don't want to see, because I think that shows development in you as a human being, to be able to kind of like understand yourself more by exposing parts that may not be a good comfort for you, and that's normal. That's being human. You have to show that. You have to show when you make mistakes, or when something's not right. That was literally something that I had to learn over time, and even now I'm experimenting with comfort food using ramen. Like literally, all my pieces have ramen in them, and they all have a different way of showing uh, that kind of like direction, whether it's a way of living, a way of comfort, um, or even like just satisfaction, within that food world. And soon enough, I'm gonna show more of that with these characters, because every single character I've created now is just an ingredient of the ramen bowl.
Mm, you
And
put the
so
whole
that's more
thing
of an
together.
adaptation of something. Yeah, that I want to show people that you can take something simple and create your whole world for it.
Mm,
So over time I'm growing, and I'm learning that I can literally dissect a lot of things and make things as grand as I want them to be, but I have to stay driven. No one can tell me like this is where you stop. Like this is
yeah.
where it's done, like so that was like something that I had to learn over time, like instead of like asking so many questions to people who really don't know, um I need to start like seeking more answers, or more statements that I want to put upon myself to say, oh, this is what's going to happen. This is what I envision, instead of saying to my friend, hey, you think this could happen? Or you think I should envision this? Like, that was, you could ask any of my closest friends. That's honestly, I used to ask, I still try to stay away from that, but I ask everyone like their opinion. They're always like, well, if you feel like it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why do you keep saying that?
No, I'm
Like,
asking you.
yeah. I'm like, why do you always got to put me as first? I'm the one that's confused. Why, and I'm asking you. And then they're like, well, your choice matters. That's what matters the most. Like, that in the end of the day, you got to take that to your grave. I don't have to
Mhm.
carry that. So stop making me carry that.
Yeah,
And
don't give me the power. Like you the one that's gotta hold it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I had to
Mm,
learn individualism of myself, where I'm in the seat, I'm in the court, you know, and I'm shooting the shot. No one's gonna. I'm not gonna give no one an alley oop, unless it's worth it. But even then, I'm still making a point.
absolutely. Like and it's good that you still ask for feedback, but then understanding that you yourself make the executive decision. Like they can tell you as much or as little as they want to, and you can just go the complete opposite direction if you want to. And like you have the freedom and the power to do that. And like I don't think a lot of people understand that.
It's
Like
yeah, it's really it's tough. I'll tell you right now, it is a tough thing because I don't know, coming out of school or any institution or form of development, like you always used to get like a grade, or like you got an A for this, or like you used to get all this kind of feedback. And when you're on your own, you got to remember to give yourself your own feedback. Like it was not something that you had to go to, like a particular friend that was a teacher and they're like, oh, you failed this week, like it was something that you always had to end of the day, every single day, when you before you go to sleep, be like, hey, did I do something for myself that was worth saying, talking about, or even being proud of? And every time you have to answer, you have to answer that, and you have to answer it in a positive way. You will want to answer in a positive way. Otherwise, it's going to lead to the end of the week, and you're like, oh, did I do anything good this week? And it's just like a running, kind of like a running joke, where it's just kind of like, you know, what's the meaning of life if I keep getting all these questions of like it being fulfilling or all this kind of stuff? Like, is it going to get answered? Am I going to find the actual answer? We don't know. Like, but you always had to make sure that you solidify what's happening now. Is it great? And if it isn't, can it be great? You know. So that
so
was
then
that was.
so then as someone who like if somebody's listening or watching and they're in a predicament like that where they feel they need other people to make the rules, or maybe they had somebody making all the rules for them up until a certain
Mhm.
point. Say, they lost a loved one and that person was, making all the decisions or making sure everything was taken care of, and now they're in this position of power that they'd never had before, and they're looking for guidance that nobody, or not guidance, but they're looking to make decisions. They're looking for somebody to make a decision that only they themselves should be able to make. And like, what are some
Right.
things that you would advise somebody like that to be able to make that transition into their own agency?
Yeah. Um. I particularly love to, for that kind of growth. I particularly love to just venture out, and and oddly enough, because I'm still hard an introvert. I hate to say it, but I know a lot of people like argue like you be talking to everybody, but it's just um it's only the reasons why I say that is because um I'm I'm not always open to show parts of myself that are always as a leading kind of like stature. Like I'm a leader, I can, I can go do this, I can go do that, I can go make changes to this in my life. Um, that was something that I had to develop over time. I had to like talk, like talk to strangers, like meet people that I don't even know, like stuff like that. And I think that when you're trying to fill a seed that hasn't even blossomed yet, and or try to get to a certain position that either someone perceive you as, or you can see yourself as, but you just can't get there. I think it takes more uh taking a leap to a place that you never been. I think, for me, it's like if I'm riding on a bus and I always sit in the same seat in the front, I'm like, I'm going to the back of the bus on one of those days because I want to see something different. If you want to make change, you have to make change, you know, um, to like your whole setup. So that's kind of like the way I see things is that if it's not working out one way, then if I want to create that growth within myself, I have to do something that's like literally walking outside, talking to not like a crazy person, but like have judgment and talk to someone and get their feedback. We're all human beings. We always survey everything that we do. And that's something that you have to constantly do in your life, whether it's subtle conversation or it's something where you go to a gallery show or you go to like a movie or you go to a concert, for example. Because I used to go to a lot of concerts and sometimes I used to go with friends. I used to go by myself and I would meet all kinds of individuals and make friends with them, and they'll just be my concert buddies or something like that. And that would give me kind of like growth and like, oh, I know how to talk to these kind of people, or I know how to talk in these situations because I made that venture to show that kind of growth over time. And it wasn't something that I did the next day. I mean, of course, it was something that I pushed or worked towards, but I think that sometimes venturing out in areas where it involves different people that are not in your circle would give you that kind of growth.
So then what was your script then? As an introvert, going up to random people, that don't happen,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even if you got the nerve, you just gonna you get up there and you're like, well, shoot, I'm here now, but what I'm supposed to say? They looking at me, I'm looking at them. It's quiet. What do I say? Like, how do I? What's next? What do you have a do you have like a set script? Do you have like a play by play? You got a rundown, a protocol? How do you go about
Um,
doing that?
so yeah, over time I used to really like of course hanging out with friends, you would do a lot of crazy stuff. You were probably even like there were moments where even when I was like going out to like open mics, me and one of my friends, which is my roommate's younger brother, Jonathan, we would do this thing called we would suit up. It's like I don't know if you've seen that show How I Met Your Mother, but we would like try to talk to girls by going to like these open mics and like just like trying to figure out how to ways to like talk to them or have conversations with complete strangers.
Mhm.
And that was like something that we wanted to do. So we would dress up and like just sit in the crowd in the bleachers and just like whoever was playing, we would just like whoever was next to us that we admired or it was really cool. We would just talk to them. But it would be like subtle. It would be like something where we will show off like a side of ourselves that was like more together or things like that. Sometimes those are tactics, and for me personally, doing stuff like going to like a concert, it was more so like asking about like a song or something like that. Like that was like really cool, familiar that I knew or they were vibing to, and I'm like, oh, you heard that song, and I'm like, I heard this song and such and such. It'll be more spontaneous. I would always just look at talking to different people is like talking to a newborn baby that that doesn't know how to fully talk, but you knew the facial expressions to give the baby to make sure that they are comfortable.
Mm,
And that's how I used to approach people, is that as long as your intent is a good intention, more than likely they're going to respond back to you with the same respect and admiration. And I think that that's something that most people just have to practice. If you don't want to come to a person nervous looking, because then it looks scary. That looks like you're going to do something to them, you know? So you have to show the reflection already as though you're looking in the mirror.
mm,
So you have to show that you're inviting. You got to show that you're ready, of course, and also that you have something to offer, because no one wants to, you don't want to come to someone and not know what to say. You want to be ready to say something that's worth hearing. And if it's worth hearing for you, then more than likely they might want to hear it,
mm.
because we're all human and we have similar, oddly enough, we have similar interests uh in certain things. So yeah.
So so then how do you not talk yourself out of it? Like there's been times like when I was in college and I was single, I would say I'd try to go and talk to some girl I saw. And I think like, okay, just to start a conversation, you don't need that much to start a conversation. But in your head, when you're sitting there in like in the back of the class, or if you're like at the lunchroom and you see her over there, and you're like, man, I just go ask about like the shoes or something. Go ask about the t-shirt that she's wearing. It's got a band or whatever. She's like, no, that's stupid. That's crazy. I'm not asking. That's a dumb question. She probably got that question 100 times already. Like, how do you not talk yourself out of just going to just speak to that person anyway?
I think most part though, when you're dealing with some situation like that, it's just more so like how do I put it? It's like what like what's the worst that could happen kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's literally just like you hitting rock bottom and you're broke as shit, and you have nothing to offer. And it's like but you still have something to say. And I think that feeling of just like literally starting from zero and climbing is kind of like I'm showing the effort. Like it's not even about me trying to give you the thing you want to see. Like this is something that comes from the heart. This is something that comes from the core, like the foundation, and is raw. And more enough, people like to see the more raw version of you. They're not trying to look for what you're trying to build up to be. If
Mm-hmm.
you show your rawness, that shows more of a more of a solid demeanor of yourself, versus trying to be like, oh, I know your friends always tell you this, but I want to say this to you as well. Like, no, like they want to hear something that they never heard, or they never heard from you, because you're the surprise factor. You're the person who's going to be like out of nowhere, be like, hey, those shoes are fire. And soon enough, like they probably might be like either, oh, thank you, or they'd be like, oh, I got them from such and such. This is a place where I go all the time. You're like, oh, you do? I'm like, oh, I go to this site and I get these shoes from here. And then you have a connection. And then you can come back and keep tracks on each other.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll never know that 50-50 kind of like situation if you don't do it. And that is kind of like that, what's the worst that could happen, or like that what if thing. So if you don't do it, it will never grow. And that to me is death in its own. Like you don't want to feel that death, because you know how that feels. Time to time, if you haven't done it, then you'll know the feeling of how it feels to not do things. So why not do things so you won't feel that as much? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's just like in order to avoid feeling pain all the time, why not show the other side, which is more of the healing process.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from the way that you're explaining it. It sounds like a lot of the people who get very nervous are focused on the outcome.
Yes.
And so they're like, I'm only going to talk to this person if I can be their friend, or if I can get this girl's number, or if I can get the job or whatever. And they're so caught up on like, I only want this if this happens.
Yeah.
But
If it
they're not
feels this
willing,
way.
right? But they're not willing to risk it going the other way, which it's a possibility that it might. And so then they're like, nah, I ain't even about to try it. But putting the satisfaction in the input is more important, because it's like, okay, whether or not I get the job, whether or not I get the phone number, whether or not I get to make friends with whoever, I tried. I went up there and I spoke my truth. I said what I wanted to say. I expressed what I wanted to express. However they feel about it is how they feel about it. But
And
you
I
can feel
showed
better
my
yourself.
truest nature of myself. And that's, to me, I think that's most important, is that you showed out. You showed like 100, almost like 75 to 100% of you, versus showing 10 or 30% of you where it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna back out for today. I'm gonna smile at them and I'm gonna half-ass it." So it's just
Mhm.
like, do you, like, for me, I think, do you want to be the person who's going to uh show out and show the fullest version of yourself, or are you going to watch somebody else do it for you?
Mm.
And me, it's like, that is even worse than defeat, because it's like, dang, that could have been me. Like, I could have been that person,
That
because,
stings.
you know what I mean? So it's just like, and it makes you feel like you're an imposter, because it's like, I want to be that person all the time, but I'm never that person, because I'm too afraid to show it.
Yep. Yep. And so then you're just uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable
Yeah.
the whole time, because you're like, dang, I really want to be on this time, but I can't. I'm not allowed to. I won't let myself.
Yeah.
Man. So then on the other
Hmm.
side of that token,
Yeah.
what about people who continuously step out with that first honest good foot, and then they're getting rejected, and they're getting ignored, and they're getting shot down, and they're getting,
Hmm.
turned away?
Hmm.
What would you say to people who just get chipped away at that? Like they just keep trying, and they just keep hitting their head, and they're like, yo, I'm
Hmm.
getting tired of this. Like it just won't, it ain't going.
Oh, good. I mean, it's almost as like a catch-22 though, because like if you do it, you get the results, it happens. Or
Mhm.
if you do it again, if you do it, if you don't do it, then you may still get the results, but they won't be as dramatic as what you did when you did it. So
Mhm.
it's just like, for me, it's like, because I've gotten rejected, and it sucks, but it's a part of nature, and it's a part of growth and understanding that this may not be the path I envision. It may not,
Mhm.
from that perspective, and even the job, kind of standpoint. Like, where you want to work for a certain job, and then you see it and you're like, oh, it looks so cool. The people, my friends talk about it, and it's so amazing. And then you go to the people and they tell you got rejected, and then you're like, but I'm like so qualified for it. Like, I'm the right fit. And like, you don't know what you're doing wrong. And it's not about what you're doing wrong. It's just sometimes in life, time, it's just time. Like, if it's not the right time for you, then it's not the right time for you. And that also is another key. Like, people have to understand that situations happen in the way where it it connects the dots. And if the dots are not aligned to connect, then it may not happen at that time, or it may not happen ever. But um it doesn't hurt to try to see if that combination works. So it's literally like opening up a key lock, and you're just trying out combinations, but you don't know which one is there, but you just know that one exists. So it's just like, you still have to do something, because you know that there's a possibility of something magical happening. but you don't know what time and what right combination. But you just know that if you keep trying, eventually something is going to unlock. And that is something that people have to understand is a part of the process in everyone's situation. Unless you are like, I don't know, under a rock and you just got presented with every answer in the world for yourself, and you have every career that you've always wanted, then I don't need to talk to you about this. But most of the time, everyone has to go through failure, and everyone has to go through trying something that they've never tried before and hoping that they get something out of it and it's successful. Um, but it's not going to always be the way you envision it. It may happen later on down the line after you did it 100 times or 1,000 times, or maybe even one time. If you just like one of those like first time, first try kind of like people. But regardless, everyone has to start like the same way every time. So I think for those people who are failed a lot, just keep trying, because it just may not be your timing or it may not be your situation yet. But eventually, with the life that we have, you have more opportunity to make that happen.
That's so true. And I think I'm a believer in things happen like right on time and right as
Mhm.
as they're supposed to, because it always tends to feel that way. Like
Yeah,
whenever the thing does happen, whenever you do finally get whatever you were looking for the whole time, it's almost like every failure had to do with it. Like it had to be there for you to be
yeah,
able to like successfully handle whatever the thing is that you got. Like whether it was the job or like this opportunity or something, like you had to try and like grow and understand yourself and understand the game, understand all these different things to where had you gotten it when you first wanted it or when you first reached out for it, you wouldn't have been able to to wield it properly. It would have been too heavy. It would have been
yeah.
too uncomfortable or something, and you had to
Or
go
even
and
that person that you admired, and you think like, oh, they could be the person who can date or such and such. Maybe they're not ready to do that, and you probably were, but they're probably going to sing you in a big whirlwind of emotion that you just can't handle at the moment, because you're like, I've been ready, but you don't seem like you're ready, and you on and off about everything. And
Mhm.
that can just destroy your whole vision of how you see them,
Yep.
because they're not ready and the timing is not always there. But you're ready, but you're not. But the situation is not complete. And sometimes when that happens, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen at that time or at that
Yep.
moment, and may not be with that person,
Yep.
or individual. So it's a tough thing to experience, but it's something that you have to see it through for what it is and be truthful about it, because over time you could be playing mind games with yourself, thinking that you're not worth pursuing those kind of goals.
Mm.
So and soon enough, like, that can destroy your paths in its own. That can be your rejection, not the person, the situation that you put yourself in.
Yeah, you kind of like stiff arming your own dreams that way, like
Yes.
almost training yourself to be like basically like reject yourself before you even get the chance.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
You literally self-destruct your situation before you even explore all the opportunities. Like you're just literally like, oh, I can't do this mural, or I can't do this dance. But you haven't even tried enough more than a week to even search for those opportunities or even learn that dance enough. Like you could probably do it, but you probably won't do it at the time that you want to do it.
Yep.
So it's just are you willing to go that far? Are you willing to take that leap? Or are you just excited about the outcome?
A lot of times, it's like the latter. They'll
Yeah,
just be excited and they may not be all the way ready for it, but you know, sometimes it works out like that. But
I tell
oh,
you, I have a young little niece that I spent time with, that I drew a painting of recently with How to Train Your Dragon on my Instagram.
mhm.
But she's like a go-getter when it comes to just activities and fun, and I love that about her. But not everything is she's completely ready for. There was a moment in time where I was doing Fourth of July with her, spending time with her, and she wanted to like fireworks. She was just like fireworks, like I want to be around them. I want to try to shoot off some fireworks. She's never messed with fireworks before. But the whole time I was with my oldest niece and she was trying to shoot fireworks as well. They both never done it. And we had a whole bunch of them from my sister's friend's place, and we were just shooting off every single firecrackers, everything you can think of. And so, like, she had her first chance of lighting one, and oh my gosh, the the transition from like I love this, I know of this, I see people do it, to where I'm not ready. This is not me.
Mm.
I don't even want to light this anymore. And I tell you, I had to be there with her and hold her and be like, hey, this is how you light it. This is how the breakdown is done. This is what happens when you light it. And then this is how to prepare for it. You have to understand in yourself how to prepare for these things and how to understand them fully before you just go in sometimes. Sometimes it's good to do your research because it'll help you prepare on how to experience the whole thing from beginning to end. And for her, it was just more so like the result. It just looks cool. I saw it on Disney. I saw it on this cartoon, and it just made all of these colors, and it's amazing. And that's how she was, experiencing it. And that's cool because when you're a child, you don't think about all the possibilities. You're just one to experience.
Choices.
Yeah, but the one thing people have to understand that that's an emotion and a feeling that's carried with you throughout life. You have to understand things from every aspect and not uh, corner yourself thinking that you're always going to get the same result. Every experience is going to be somewhat slightly different because the timing may be not the same, or the situation may not be the same, or the outcome, or like how you look at things may not be the same. And that's a part of growth. That's a part of change. That's something that people have to understand, like about like changes, and yeah, it's constantly happening. It's something that, like, when you're approaching something difficult, or you're approaching something that you may not be ready for, or you don't know if you're going to succeed. It's just something that um has to happen in order for your life to go on in a way that you understand it as a learning experience. Because if you keep holding back and putting it on hold, it eventually is going to either disappear or it's not going to be a part of your life. There were so many times where I had a longboard, and I still have it. I have two of them actually. And I was one of those people that was like, I used to be one of those people that was like, oh, I got a longboard, so a longboard. And then it's
Mhm.
like, no, you don't practice on a longboard. You don't take it out and ride it. But you have one, but it doesn't make you that person. It just makes you an owner of that person, or owner of, I mean, whatever you have. And over time, I had to learn that, like, in order to experience what it feels like to utilize something like a longboard, or to get from one place to the next and enjoy that, you actually have to take it out from under your bed and go ride it. Maybe hurt yourself, maybe hurt your ankle, or get a scruff or something like that, or damage the board, or you have to understand every aspect of it. And it's gonna bring a lot of opportunities and a lot of possibilities that may not be opportunities for you. You may be getting disadvantages. So it's just like you have to experience the whole thing in order to completely give yourself the satisfaction of saying that I experienced this fully, and you have to be honest with yourself. And I think that with chance and change, there's honesty has to be involved in order for it to be something that you can say is yours.
Yeah. That's so true too. I thought of this, I forget who I was talking to about this subject, but they were saying we got to the subject of like titles and like whether or not you're this kind of artist or that kind of artist or whatever. And I remember this sentiment I heard of like people are so caught up in trying to be the noun when they should be
Yeah.
trying to just do the verb. Because
Oh,
trying to be the
wow.
noun that already boxes you in terms of like what you can do because you're okay, you get the benefit of like, yeah, I have a longboard, so I longboard. I'm a longboarder, right?
Yeah.
But then you can't do other stuff because that's what longboard people don't do that. Like I don't do that. I'm a longboard. I don't mess with that. But then it's like that might be something that you actually enjoy, but because you're so caught up in the noun and what that comes with, you're limiting yourself to ways where you could find a nice blend or a nice niche between the two things. And I
Yeah.
think that people could really benefit from just focusing on what they're doing instead of what they are. Because a lot of times, like, that doesn't even really matter a lot of
Yeah.
times.
Oh my gosh, dude. There was so many times where I used to be like, and this was something that I even noticed over time that people used to do. And it was not their fault. It was just something that I kept visioning for myself. That people would say, like, oh, Luke does art, but he's like, and it wasn't anything negative. It was just what I was at the moment. And they were like, oh, he does chalk art. And I'm like, well, yeah, I do chalk art. I'm a
It's
chalk
one of them.
artist, but I also do other stuff. Like this is, you know what I mean? Like I'm like this is something I'm
Hmm.
venturing out into, but it's not something that titles me of who I am initially. But sometimes I think emotion gets in the way, or certain uh, egos that get in the way that kind of take form and let you know, like, oh, this is the way they see me, and I'm like, that's not it. Like that's the way you see yourself from what they're saying to you.
Hmm.
um and you have to always see yourself as I am who I am, but I don't always have to prove it to anyone. Like this is just something that's you know this is just something that they may perceive me at that moment doing all the time, and that's nothing wrong with that. So if you're say that like you want to ride a longboard, or you're a longboarder or whatever, but you don't really do it all the time, doesn't mean, how do I put this? It doesn't mean that you uh uh initially are that person uh per se. Sometimes it's something uh that you put upon yourself to believe. And whenever you're doing certain things that people may perceive you as, instead it's what they see you doing, and that's something that they believe that you're doing all the time. And that's just more self-belief and more observation from others, but it doesn't set things in stone. You set things in stone. So if you believe that you're doing something, you have to be more honest about yourself to say, this is who I am, this is what I practice, and keep it at that. But sometimes things can get really you can feel real anxiety or feel a certain kind of like imposter syndrome when you're saying certain things but you're not doing them, and you're almost kind of like giving yourself homework every time you say that. And that
Hmm.
to me is, it sucks. So like it's like when you're talking in conversation and your friends, or have this situation where you're just trying to fit in. You're like, they're like, oh, I went out and did a mural or whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, me too. I kind of like worked on something, and it turns from like I worked on something to I sketched something out that could be a mural, but I never actually like put it to test. It was just
Ah,
just a conversation. And they're
that's
like,
so
oh, did you
real.
finish that mural? I'm like, oh, I,
Yep.
yeah, like I I've worked on the process, and they're like, oh, what part? And I'm like,
Show me a
well,
picture.
it's like, and it's just like, are you being honest with yourself, or are you just giving yourself more homework? And
Mhm.
like for me, it's just like you have to be very sincere, or treat yourself right. Like take care of yourself in the best way that you want to. You know, I don't know. Like picture yourself as like a baby that you just want to cradle the right way. Do you want to
Yeah.
just hand your baby off into some distant land that has treacherous waves and waters that you don't even know anything about? Or
Mm-mm.
do you want to go to a place that's just comfortable and you're like, oh, this is, you know what I
We
mean?
can
So
work we can
why,
work here.
yeah, like, why would you make up something or even decorate something that you haven't even developed in yourself yet? And that can be traumatizing over time because then it's like, you want to get there, but you're not ready, and you're not telling people that you are ready. You're
Mm,
and it's cool to be around people who are, because that lets you know that indicator that you're getting there,
yeah.
but don't jump the gun so much because it can make you not go at a pace that you're truly invited to start, and that can really self-destruct in a way where it will really put you in a kind of like pause, put you in like a stuck moment, and it time after time I used to always experience that when I was thinking I was heading down the alley that I knew about, and I'm like, oh wait, dang, I really don't know this at
Mm,
all. Like I thought I knew it until I got to someone that's like, I used to practice this every day, and they're like, and you're like, I didn't do that, but I'll tell you one thing, I'm good at this, like, but you don't always say that when you're approaching them. You just like, oh yeah, yeah, I do that too. Yeah, you're right. Like I practice this program every day as well. Like, but like, by just opening it up. So
you're right.
uh
I know how to move the mouse in there. That's it though.
yeah, I
That's
just
it.
like, yeah. I did an animation. Like, yeah, it's just open, create, window, and then save. There you
Bouncy
go.
ball. Little sandbag.
Yes. Or I played with the template they gave me already, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
moved, I moved.
I made a whole movie in there. Yep. 15 minutes long, short film. No.
Yes, I'm
No.
just like, don't disguise yourself as something else. Like, always try to like show that clarity. Like, it's a beautiful thing when you do it.
Yeah, I think that's a lesson on humility for people too, because I think that these people only do that. I mean, for a big amount to try and fit in, but
Hmm.
then I think that in their own like that comes from their own misunderstanding that they need to be on that level in order to be accepted. And for
Right.
some friend groups and stuff, like it is like that, and that's kind of messed up. Like
Yeah.
you gotta be like this or else you out and all that. And like,
Oh yeah.
you
Your
know, if
yearbook clubs and people like, oh, that person is the best dressed, but like in the big and small world, you're just like this kind of group, and
yeah,
this kind of world, and you're not like, it's not the end of the world when you don't fit in with this kind of group,
yeah,
and so like you have to like explore more options in order to fulfill that kind of like indication of like what you're really reaching to, and it's not those particular people all the time. Sometimes you may have to just divert and maybe go to a group that's similar, may not be them. I hate to break it to you, may not like you, but someone else probably will. Like, and that's okay. Like, if you're not the center of attention in that group, like, they got their own thing going on, and
Mhm.
they're probably full capacity with that, and they're probably letting you know, like, hey, you're good, but you're just not us, and that's
Mhm.
just that's just that. Sometimes people can be like that.
Yeah, and I think that in itself can be a further motivator to building your own things, or building your own table, starting up
Hmm.
your own things. Like, I
Yeah.
know for a long time, I was wanting to be a concept artist, like on games and on
Uh
shows and things. And man, I used to, man, I mean, you saw the stuff I would do. I would draw like
Yeah.
character. I mean, I was doing whole character sheets and action poses and all these things. And I'm like
Uh
wanting to do these things for so that I could, like, I'm sharpening my portfolio. I'm trying to work at this company, that company, and
huh.
I'm reaching out on Twitter. Twitter has like a big community of like game developers and stuff. And I'm like, bro,
Hmm.
I'm messaging people on Twitter, like, yo, I do this and this and this. What you got going on? I'm trying to do some artwork for blah 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 blah. And I'm trying, I'm
Yeah.
trying, I'm trying, I'm trying. And I mean, for years, this was from I mean, at least like the better part of 6 to 7 years, I'm trying to like, I mean,
Really.
I'm swinging the pinata, I'm trying. And to the point where I'm going to expos, I'm showing my work to people, to
Yeah.
recruiters, and they're like, yo, this work is amazing. We don't know why you haven't been
Hmm.
hired yet. This is awesome. It's
Hmm.
cool, but whatever. It's cool, but X. It's cool,
Yeah,
but
people always
Y,
give that little thing like, "Oh, like why are you, like, oh man, you're amazing. Like, why are you not a part of this?" Like, and
Right,
and,
right.
and they always ask you that question. I'm like
Like,
I've been
that's
there.
why
I'm
I'm
like, I don't
here.
know. Like,
I'm trying to figure it out. Look, I was hoping you could tell me. Shit.
yeah, I was like,
So,
I'm hoping you can fill in the blanks for me because I'm like, I'm here. I'm excited just as much as you are, and I'm here to create. Like,
right,
I don't know who I'm not talking to. So
right.
it's like,
And I think just over time, learning that and just catching all of the note. I mean, so many emails, so many DMs, so many
uh
just
huh.
in person no, no, sorry, sorry. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
unfortunately, this,
Unfortunately,
yeah, like all of this. We appreciate your all right. I'm already swiping
we've
away
been
from it.
looking through so many applicants, and you're just not,
Yeah,
just
and
not it.
it gets to a point where you're like, okay, like that's cool. Like it's unfortunate, but I
Hmm.
would rather spend my energy and my coins towards something that will last me a little bit better. Because with something like that, it's like, okay, you got, even if you had gotten that job, you get to work on that project. And that project could
Right.
be cool. Like, I'm not even trying to talk mess about the project. And even that could lead to other work down the line. So it's
Hmm.
not even like you just missed out on that one, but it's different from every day you're getting up and you're working towards something that you know is like slowly building versus
Right.
you're just throwing stuff down in the hole and you're hoping that you hit. Like that's like
You're literally
risky.
just like throwing like coins in a small cup and hoping that like one of them actually lands in there, and you're
Right.
like, oh, this is the one. This is
Right.
it. I'm
You're
gonna be, and there's so many moments where I'm like, oh, I just met such and such, or like for example, like I did like this project with my friend Zach. Of course you know him, and we met the king and queen of Netherlands, and we were like,
mm,
oh man, like I shook hands with them, and I'm like, these are the same people that shook hands with Diana, Princess Diana. These are the same people that shook hands with like other types of royalty all over the country. Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and I'm like, I'm famous. Like I'm there. Like I don't have to do anything anymore. Like I got,
right.
they
You
got money
good.
for me. No, like that's something that if it happens in the way that it should, then it will happen. But don't expect your life to change because you think that, or you envision that you're meant to be a particular person that that's perceived as someone that's perceived as someone from the limelight of things to be popular. Like you can make yourself popular just like, oh my gosh, you can make yourself popular just from being a part of a really cool group, local group, and everyone appreciating you showing up every day at like some kind of event all the time. That makes you that gives you that fame. You know, that gives you the glory of just enjoying what you've created or things you can be a part of. Not trying to be a part of like this big bodacious crowd or like all this, stuff. I mean, of course, money is something that, can bring certain other things, but it does not show your glory. What shows your glory is the connections that the things, the accomplishments that you make that exceed more of your personal expectations. Becoming more of yourself. Developing as a human being or as an individual that can smile every day, wake up every day, breathe, eat, drink, play, laugh, do all those things, function almost every day. And you can check those off, then you accomplish parts of yourself that's more fulfilling and has more glory and more fame than somebody who's like, oh, I made this much money this year, but I'm still sad. And
Mm-hmm.
I still don't have what I wanted when I was broke. So it's just like, it's just like it's up to you of finding what means a lot to you, and also like figuring out what like what is like your your end goal, or what, well, not even just your end goal, but what is your current desire? What are you really trying to accomplish?
Mm.
Because I know for a fact most people, when they're trying to get in these like art shows or certain groups, um they want to see like this kind of like elevation from themselves or this momentum, but it's just like you don't need to see that. You need to be doing that already. Like that's something that you need to be um seeing within yourself in everything you do. It's not something that you meet someone and they just give you that. It's like it's literally just like seeing a genie and you wishing for something and they're like, oh, now you have that. Like these people are not for that. They don't have magic powers. They can't make you awesome. You have to be awesome already. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
like
Yep. Oh,
so,
that's so
like
real. Dang. That's so real. Oh, I remember the first time I went to a City of Ink show.
yeah,
It was City of Ink 10. And I remember being so excited because I wanted to meet Maya Bailey.
yeah,
And I was like, man, it's my it was like my first like I don't know if it was my first big art show I went to, but it was like just so much hype around it. And I
yeah.
was I remember I was calling a friend and I was like, I want to meet Maya. I want to meet, Maya, like, because I knew he knew Maya. And I was like, man, I want to meet him. And like, man, I just got to be able to like talk to him. And I remember my friend was like, for what? And I was like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just thought that was what you're supposed to do. And he's like, I mean, what are you gonna say to him? Like, what if he's in your face right now? What you gonna tell him? And and that hit me like a ton of bricks because I was like, I don't know. I thought like I just had to get to him, and then all that was I was gonna be famous, and then I was gonna make $1 million,
uh,
and then I'd be on top of the art scene and
it's like
all
that
that.
feeling where it's like if you meet someone that you always want to meet, and they've been like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for you. Like you're you're him. Like you're
Yeah,
that you're the person that everyone's been telling me about, and like
yeah,
and not to burst some people's bubble, but like if you're that person, then you're gonna hear it more than from just that person that you're shooting for. So it's just like don't expect to become something that you think that person provides. Like they may not even have that, and that's the sheer like kind of clarity to a lot of stuff is that even some of your heroes can be your villains and you wouldn't
Yeah.
even know it. You know?
Mhm.
So like don't go down that rabbit hole of like curiosity thinking that it's all sunshine and rainbows. Like that
Mhm.
person probably had to go through so much just to show that demeanor, that kind of like like glorious look of themselves,
Yeah.
that you may perceive. And then when you talk to them, they're like, "Hey, what's up?" And then you're like, "Dang, why are you not happy?" And they're
Why are
like,
you not
"Well,
glowing?
yeah, why you not? Where's your aura?"
Right.
Like I'm just like, I'm shaking your hand. And I'm like, dang, I got nothing from this. Like I got
Right.
no powers, nothing. So it's just like
Uh,
you get that kind of like momentum, and you think that it's going to pass down from someone else that's just going to give it to you because like I don't, I kid you not. There was a lot of people that were like, it was like Brandon Sadler, for example,
oh,
Rising Red
yeah.
Lotus. And I
Mhm.
used to be like, oh man, I love this guy. Like he's so amazing. Like his work is translates so cool. I'm still like that. I'm fanboy sometimes. And I'm like, oh, he's just, you see me post it. And then when I meet him, like, he's like, sometimes he's even hard on himself. And I'm like, dang, dude, like, he's just like, yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you gonna figure it out? He's like, I don't
Mm.
know. Like,
And I
he's
thought
like, we
I
don't we
thought you
don't
had
see.
all the keys. I thought you knew
Yeah, I was like, I
everything.
thought I'm like assisting him, and he just like, we gonna do this, do that. Give me a second. I'm gonna try to figure this out. And I'm just like,
It's funny,
oh,
you sound
okay,
just like him too. That's
yeah.
hilarious.
And it's like, yeah, they're amazing, yeah, they're talented, but they're still human. Like they still have
Mhm.
to break everything down just like you did, and their complexity is probably bigger, but it still starts from square one. It's not something that's like, you know, I'm at point A and I'm already at point Z. Like no, like
Mm-mm.
that doesn't work like that. And it doesn't work like that even if you had that position. So it's just
Yep.
like, what made you think that you can shortcut through success by meeting someone or
Yep.
being a part of something? That
Yep.
it doesn't. No.
Yep.
What's the what? And even if it was that, even if that did exist, what's the joy in that? Like, why would you want to skip all that hard work and all that accomplishments just to, I don't know, like
Be at the
just to
end.
get that satisfaction, like that random satisfaction from people?
Yeah, it's really like if you were to turn on a movie and then 2 minutes in, you're just at the end credits, and you're like,
Yeah,
"Well, damn, I didn't. I guess I mean I'm finished, but I didn't even I didn't even enjoy the movie. I didn't even really
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
into it.
It's
It's just
literally just
over."
like the hero kills the villain within 2 seconds. He's like, dang, that's it. Like,
Damn.
dang, no fight, no struggle, no, like, and so it's just like, do you want to experience just, you know, existing as someone, or do you want to be someone that's constantly evolving, like
Mm,
constantly changing, constantly becoming something that people don't expect? And
mhm,
and and to me, that's more valuable than being a part of something um that's just one look, of something that you see. And it's just like,
mhm,
for me, it's just like, I want to evolve. Like I want to constantly change. I may be a part of something such and such group or such and such organization, but then in the end, I might get bored and be like, I want to do something else. And
mhm,
I have that opportunity and I have that ability to do that. No one's gonna tell me like, hey, whoa, 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 you're part of this scene. Like, stay there. Don't grow. Like, no one's gonna tell you
mhm,
that. Like that's insane. So it's just
mhm,
like, don't limit yourself already because you think that if you meet certain people that you've already made it to a certain position that says that you're done. Like, no,
mhm,
you're never done
mhm.
until you're done. So
Yeah. Till you're in the ground or in an urn.
yeah, yeah, exactly, dust.
So, do you have any tips on people on helping people enjoy the process, like helping people enjoy the movie, instead of just wanting to skip
Oh,
to the end.
oh yeah. I, I personally think like show and tell like is really fun. I'm still trying to figure that part out for myself, but like I'll do like for example like motivational videos and things like that that talk about certain subject matters that I came across just randomly, and uh, I'll just like be creative about it and show those like flicks of like things I've done or things places I've been, and it'll be like video footage because like time to time I try to mess with social media in the best way, but I'm not a person that just want to post all the time. I'm gonna tell you right now, I am not a marketing person that just like I'm not the best at that. I didn't go to school for that. So that's not what I'm always going to be doing is posting every best update. So sometimes I get creative and try to show some of that footage within other things that I do, which is like a motivational video. And within that motivational video, you'll see some of my process. You'll see some things that I worked on. And it doesn't always have to have a big paragraph behind it. Sometimes it can just be something that you just see when you're listening to me talk about something fun and positive. So I I think that like sometimes diverting into things that require less work but more creativity is the best way to kind of like show off your success. Instead of just telling everybody this is what I do, this is what I've done, this is where I'm at, just try to show off in ways where you're like, uh, you know, life has been great. You have those, those posts, or sometimes you have that kind of like running like meme where there's a woman and she's like stretching, she's like showing off her body, but then she's like saying a poem in the comment section, and it's like the poem is way more interesting than the picture.
Hmm.
Like, but you can't see that joy, you can't see that satisfaction because you're constantly looking at the main parts of her, or you're looking at the main like attraction, and you're getting
Hmm.
not getting distracted, but you know that's there. But the
Hmm.
reality is that she's a really good poet. She has really really good skill, but the only way you'll be able to see that is if you change the viewpoint and show other aspects of how to show that.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
that's real. Like, and I think especially with Instagram and some of their algorithms that I've like been kind of looking, a lot of the artists who just post like art and stuff like that, I
mhm.
mean, engagement is just, I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah,
And especially ones that try to get you to go to another place. Like, hey, just posted this, it's up on wherever else. Then they're
yeah,
like 2 likes, it's like 100
yeah,
views or whatever. And it's like, dang.
uh-huh,
And so, but then I remember I posted like a little carousel, and it was essentially, I had been wanting to do stuff like that for a minute, where it was like, like life lately, or like a little September dump or
uh-huh,
whatever, a little them kind of post. And I did one like that, but I also just wanted to show off like some of the creative stuff I had been getting into. And so I dropped a little bit of art in here, a little bit of art in there, a little painting here, whatever,
yeah.
alongside other pictures of just stuff that I had been going through. And I mean, that post did way better. It posted so
Yeah.
much better. It got more likes than, it got more likes on anything that I had posted in months. And I was
Really?
like, dang, like, what the heck? And I think that, I mean, it does take a little bit of a pivot. And I think in this case, I played nice with Instagram's algorithms, because
Mhm.
I think they're the ones that control how much people see. It's not even that people
Yeah.
aren't liking it, they're not seeing it. And
Yeah.
so, Instagram was like, oh, this is something like they did it in a way that we like, so we're gonna push this, and
Yeah.
so
They're like,
even
this
kind of
is what's
learning.
trending for this week. And so like anyone who has this kind of like content, we show.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think I was never a good I was never really good for the reels. I just whenever especially whenever I'm drawing and stuff, I get caught up in it and like I'll start like drawing and recording and then
uh,
I look up and I'm done and I'm like, "Dang, I didn't record no more." And so it's like whatever, like and I just won't post it or
yeah,
like either that or I'm sitting there and I'm so caught up in trying to make the video that I don't even enjoy the painting or the thing cuz
yeah. You're just
I'm
like,
too busy trying to
I
get the
took like
shot.
3 hours, 3 hours just to do like a program to edit some words across. And I'm just like, why is
Yeah.
it not clicking? Like, why am I not enjoying this? Like, I thought this was like, how do people do this every day? Like, and
Yeah.
it's just like, how do they document their life this way? And how is this even working? Why does Instagram love this? This makes
Right.
people stressed out. Like,
Yeah, it's because they I think it's because they're competing with the other apps. They're competing with
right.
YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and stuff. And
Yeah.
so, but for us artists, it sucks because now we have to try and become content creators rather than just
Yeah.
drafts people or painters,
Mhm.
photographers like we like to. But but I found that the carousels do pretty well, especially if you put
They
real
do pretty
life
well.
pictures in there too. Like real life pictures alongside artwork has been doing pretty well for people. So, keep that in mind. I think I've seen a little bit of
I
that on
definitely
your
will.
side too. So, I mean, I think you
Yeah,
already kind of on that wave.
I've been trying to show more of my face every once in a while, and I noticed that gets way more traction than just showing art that I've done because it's just like um, art is to me it can be two things like for or multiple things where it's just like it can be a static kind of situation where it's just like you show something and then whatever you wrote at the bottom or however people comment it is that's just that. But if you have something that's dynamic, that shows your face, that shows you doing stuff, going places, your actions, it's something that people can pick from every like part of the week, or people can pick from every part of the month. It's like you were saying, reels is really special because it's literally just like watching a movie or a home movie over and over again. Like I was watching like it's so funny. I was watching like Goofy movie recently this past weekend, and I was like, man, this looks so different now. I was looking at the animation, I was like, man, like I never knew like they did watercolor backgrounds and all this other stuff because it's like I replayed it more than enough, and I'm like, oh, if you just look at the same thing over and over and it doesn't do anything, of course you're not going to get any joy out of that. But like if you're like featuring something that has movement, that has like different parts, moving parts, of course it's going to be more interesting. And of course people are going to want to replay that and find out other things about it. Like that's just like stuff that, you know, get people's interest. Like it's
Yeah.
just so
More
like
visually stimulating and stuff, keeps people
yeah.
engaged.
Yeah, unless you just have raw talent where you're just like everything I draw has detail in it. Like even the scribbles have scribbles. Like it's
Yep.
just like you know what I mean? Like and those kind of people are definitely rare individuals. I mean, even then they have to like work extra hard, like months, and be like, oh, this is what I created. This took me 6 months, and you can see the pores.
Yep.
So it's like
Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing that I've been trying to remind myself is that it's a sharing app. So
yeah,
you gotta live life and then share what you've collected over time and not the other way around. So people are
right,
so like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do like I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go there,
yeah,
specifically to make a reel out of it." And it's like, I mean, you can do that. You can,
yeah,
but
right,
but it's gonna be more unless you're getting like paid for it or something.
right,
Like
right,
it's gonna be exhausting trying to keep that up. And
yeah.
so, but then if you just live your own life and you don't even gotta like be traveling. You don't gotta be doing all this
Mhm.
crazy stuff. Just be like, just kind of get involved with your friends, kind of dive into
Yeah,
your hobbies, take intentional. break times and do the things that you enjoy, and you're gonna find yourself in places where you want to capture the moment, where you want to
Yeah.
record or take a picture or whatever, and then you look up and you're going down your photo gallery and you're like, oh dang, look at June. June was kind of cool, like I went over
Yeah.
here and met with this person and drew this thing, and then you can share that, and then people respond to it because it was real. This was really what you
Yeah.
went through,
It was like a real experience that you just took out of it. And it was like it was enjoyment. Like people want to see people have a good time, like doing what they do, and be like, oh, I can click onto their page, and they're not like always just like, oh, I can't post anything because I'm going through something, and then you can't show what you're going through because in the world that we live in, sometimes you know you have your private life, you have your personal life, but at the same time, um, you're not able to project parts of yourself, and sometimes that can be a damper on certain things. Like if you're not able to show the realness of like your life and what you go through, then people can't really understand you. Then that makes people not really want to see you often. And and that's just the real world we live in. Not to say that you're not interesting. It's just there's certain things that you're not able to show, and that will affect how you're being viewed. And at least through that program, at least through Instagram. But it's just like if you want to show like consistent feedback that's like responsive, then do things that make sense in your world only. Like so, if like for me, example, like I do things that like my adventures, my own adventures that I do throughout the month or the week, and then that's the content I can show. It would be different if I had like all these special cameras and all these special effects. Then yeah, of course, my audience will get broader because I have this like ways to show my life, and a lot of people will be glued in trying to figure out how did he do that? Like he does what I do, but it looks different, and I'm just like, well, that takes more practice, that takes more time, and kudos to those people who spend the time to do that because that is something that you really do have to tap in and like lock in and find out ways to surprise people every single time. And that's tough. It's not something easy. And that's why I always try to tell people like just post something or post content, anything. Because it's like don't beat yourself up on something that people spend days and hours trying to figure out something different that people haven't seen before and make it interesting, even if
Yeah.
it's just like some artwork or like a post of a mural. You try to show how it's viewed. It can be like you laying down on the ground, showing it this, the sky, and like, anything. And it's just like but you have to be creative in your own way. You can't just try to break the bank just to make one special post and expect yourself to get like a million views.
Yeah.
You know?
They'll hear one story of like, yeah, I just ran this one post and then it blew up. And it's like, I mean, that person got lucky, essentially.
Yeah.
Like either that or it's something that's been so consistent to where like
Hmm.
they've just been going viral because of the way that they
Right.
share the size of their audience. But I mean, it's so rare for something to just pop off like that. I mean, at least in my experience, I don't
Yeah.
know everything about that app, and I don't know all the different stories that go on. So I don't want to speak in absolutes, but they
Yeah.
just from my experience, those things are a lot more rare. You're gonna get a lot more posts that just do regularly versus
Yeah.
like bangers that just
Yeah.
get the
If you
internet.
have like praise over something that's like a real niche, people will let you know. They'll be like, oh, the way they do those things is so unique. Like they'll literally say in comments and things like that. And you will know that because like you'll be like directing your audience in a way that it's just different and it will
Mm-hmm.
feel different, you know. So I think for those people who know how to like really show social media in that special way, like seriously, kudos to them, hats off. But it's not for everyone. It's just not. So if you can find people who can show that kind of like expertise and like helping you, reach out to that. Like reach out to those kind of people because you just never know. Like you're not in this world just by yourself. Like there's a lot of creatives, a lot of creative people, and you can get a lot of stuff done, you know, talking to one another than by yourself. And that's just the truth. So
Yeah. So real. So real. So nowadays then, I mean, you've worked so many different jobs in this industry. You've done so many different things. I mean, you've curated shows, done graphic design, you've done chalk art, I mean, you've even helped other artists in your community by bringing others in to what you have going on. And you've been at it for so long. And like, so what are you doing now? So how has all of this knowledge that you've gained, from tons of people you meet, all the different ventures artistically that you've pursued, and all of the time that you've had to collect it all, how has your vision changed from the start? And what direction is your vehicle going right now?
at this moment, I used to well, for a second, for a solid moment, I used to really look into like internships and all this kind of like following after someone, or and I used to always think that like until I accomplished that kind of full path of like learning under someone, then I can say I'm a teacher. I can say I'm an educator or something like that, and that's not always true. I mean, my dad was, like I said, my dad was a science teacher, and I used to always try to distance myself from being someone that could like guide someone with information because I don't have the right certifications or I didn't learn from a professional like educator. And I think that like over time, if you get enough experience where you practice things that in that world exist, that professional life, then you can practically create things or outlets for people. And that's where my focus currently is outlets or a network. So like for example, like being hanging out with like high contrast and like doing projects with Doza or Raz or even Pato or like you every once in a while. I think things like that is what kind of boosts me to like create something that has a stability to it. So I want to like have like this Discord that we're on. I want to have like a network. I want to have like a uh kind of like a not a program, but like how you go to like the YMCA, like a rec center where you can go play basketball.
Hmm.
Like I want that for creatives. I want that for like locals to be always have that as an aid. So where they
Mm.
can log on to the computer and be like, oh, someone's online with me. I can go talk to them under this network that such and such with Luke had created. And they have all these resources that I can sample from. So it's just like I'm not saying it's a university, but I think that it should be something that has volumes to it and you should be able to access it freely, and it should be something that you can introduce to someone new or introduce someone that's experienced, and y'all can all share information onto those platforms. And so I'm trying to create that navigation for any uh, walk of life that's creative. And so whether it's like I said, either a Discord group or either a meetup of like doing like murals or like workshops, and it's like a monthly thing, or even potentially having like a studio space where I can like work on like a movie short or something like that, and I can hire animators. I can hire like storyboard artists and people who do set design. Like it can be that's kind of like one of my core goals is to have these kind of like spaces all over the world if possible where people can literally stop by and just explore anything and it can be and it'll just be just like going to the YMCA. It'll be like like I'm gonna get off of work and I'm gonna go head over to one of Luke's you know rec centers and like we're gonna just like we don't know what's gonna come from it but we're gonna have fun. And that's what I want. That's what I envision to be something that's like free access. And it's something that if you want to become a member, you can become a member, and it'll just be even more access. And that will pay for you know just the bills or whatever, but it'll also pay for the experience of creating volumes of like new like additions to like what's already out there, new creativity that's already out there. Because I believe that the more you have people coming together, the more opportunities of like new enterprises, new like developments. And I think that's how it works when people come together. And that's honestly what to me is like the American dream is to have different individuals, different like diverse minds, and they all come together to make something special and continue to mold that into more avenues. And it just branches out and grows like a web.
Mm. Wouldn't it be so nice to one day see some franchise or some movie or game series just taking over the world and the conception of it happened in like one of those centers
Hmm.
and being able to know that like this would not have been possible without you creating this thing would be like
Oh my god, that honestly, gosh, that would be crazy. Because it's like I don't know. I think the world we live in it was so divided for a long time, even through history, and it's becoming even more like critical, in a way where it's like I don't like this group, I don't like that group, or this civilization, that civilization. And I'm like, honestly, we're all the same under our skin. And it's crazy because it's like if we just come together, we can evolve into like way much more than just what's already been planted on this earth. And I think it's important to like recognize that for what it is so that you'll know where you're at and you can keep going from there. You don't have to start all over with just your group or your entity. You can branch out with some other people that may have information that you don't have, and then you can branch out with someone else that may have some information as well, and y'all can come together and create something that's even bigger than what you expect. But it only takes, to me, I think it takes more just like acceptance amongst different people that you may not know, and that goes back to like being an introvert. I think that there's just too many people who think that they're going until they run into a group that they're not familiar with, and then they're just like, I don't know what I don't like about this group, but I just can't get along with them, And it's like you don't even know them. Like, how would you know? How would you know you're comfortable with them if you don't even know them and you haven't even asked the right questions? So it's just like for me, it's just like in order to grow that foundation or have something that like you said that could be special, you have to open yourself to the possibilities of just being like I don't know how to really like connected with everyone if as much as possible. Like I think that is so important that we don't divide ourselves. Like I think the key to like true like joy and trust amongst each other is to really come together.
mm. You said that you you said that people swear off certain groups that they don't connect with because they may not have asked the right questions. What would be some of the right questions in your opinion?
Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. Okay. So like for me, I think as far as like asking the right questions,
Or even like a
is like,
framework. It doesn't even have to be a specific question, but just in
yeah.
terms of how they want to approach getting to understand someone. Where should their mind
Oh,
be?
I see what you mean. Okay. So yeah,
Either
I
one
mean,
works.
so yeah, like if you're, yeah, like basically you you have kind of like the first of all, you got to put yourself in their shoes and see for what it is. Like y'all both are trying to accomplish goals and different things, but it's just like if you're on this side of town and you're doing all these projects, and they're on that side of town doing projects, and you're doing it on the same weekend, it's just like why why aren't we not why are we not coming together to figure out how we can benefit from the audience that we have? Because if you know that you're sharing your audience with that person or that group, and they know they're sharing the audience with you, then why? To me, I was like, I would ask, why are we so separate from the same goal? Like, if if that's the case, what kind of activity that we have to do to see it if we can, come together and create something different, a different outcome. Because if you know that you're doing your own thing and they're doing their own thing, on one side of the town and they're doing one thing on the other side of the town, you're going to get the same results. You're going to get probably the same clients, the same people, maybe a little spurt of like different people. But to me, I think asking certain questions like what activities can we do, or like what certain things can we put together, like, or do you have this, or do I have that, like, do you have this kind of projector, or like do you have this kind of like experience, like have you done like drinking draws, or have you done, this artist talk before? Like I think that sharing activities or sharing certain like strengths with one another can really advance like our knowledge all around. And if we hold off on certain things all the time, then you're always going to have the same kind of like I said, the same kind of outcomes where you have a strength in this area, and then that area you got to go to the other side of town with those other people to find that strength. And it's just like that's just exposing things that you don't need to be thinking about. And I think that's terrible to think about, because it's like, you know, everyone's great in their own way, but like I just don't believe that we should worry about like what other people don't have. I think it's just what can we offer to that community if they willing to accept, an offer or whatever. I think that's something that's special. So like for me, it's just like, hey, would you like to work together? Would you like to collaborate? And if so, what can you offer to us, or what are some things that you find fun to do? And if so, then let's come together and do some fun stuff together. Show me what you have and I'll show you what I have, and then we can create something from there. And I think collaboration is really key to some growth.
Mm, it's beautiful. Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't know
you
to
know,
like go so.
no, no, you're good. That was
uh,
exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for,
uh,
for the real answer. Speaking of collabs, we're supposed to be doing a collab ourselves.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh
We gotta
man,
get that.
dude,
Gotta get
I'm
that
excited.
started soon. So, what what's the most important thing that you think we haven't spoken on yet? Is there
Oh,
anything we've
oh,
missed?
okay, man. This like I'm telling you, I did not expect this conversation the way. Man, wow. Um, I know for a fact for me, I have had a couple questions with you that about your development. And like how like where do you see your work being projected and like because I had questions about my own work about like just trying to grow memory. We were talking about like I was trying to make like fruit snacks and like make like these like products and things for my own self and like so like my question is like where do you see your work translating in the real world aspect? Like how do you see it being something of everyday living? Because as we know, not everyone can buy you know, $1,000 painting or $1,500, you know, like, or even like, you know, $12,000 painting. It like, let's be realistic. People want to live in a world where they can utilize whatever they're using or whatever they're gaining. So,
Absolutely.
how do you how do you see your creations come to life over time and you know the advancements?
Mhm. Yeah, that's so true. Um, to be honest, there's a couple of things. So, I remember I learned from Tommy Bronx. This is a
Mhm.
good friend of mine. It's like family to me.
Dude is
He told
amazing.
me,
I would love to
yeah,
meet him. I've never really formally
never
met
met
him.
him before. Oh
No.
wow. Yeah, that's the homie, man. I hope to have him on the show one day. But
Oh, yeah.
he
Cool.
he he told me you want to have enough for everybody. So you want to have the $15,000 painting for the rich person that comes in and wants to flex. But then you also
Oh,
want to have like a $1,000 painting for people who, they got some money, but they ain't trying to break the whole bank. But then
yeah,
you have like $100 little small joint for the people who, they just got a good job, but
uh,
they don't go and buy all this painting. Then you have the $50 print for the people
uh,
who are like on a regular kind of budget. Then
yeah,
you have, $15 you know, some little figure or something, and then you go
yeah.
all the way
Or a
down to
keychain
like right, keychain, something, and then you go all the way down to even like $1.50 stickers for
stickers.
people
Yeah,
who don't really have anything but want to support somehow or just want to have a keepsake but don't want to spend a
yeah.
bunch of money. Like you
Make like a
cover
little
all
donation.
those bases.
Right.
But then even with that, I think that only really applies in a fine art sense because you can only really put that in if you're like doing a gallery show or something, and most times
Hmm.
like a solo show at that, because how many shows are you going to be able to put all those different number of pieces in and keychain and stickers all in the same joint? Like that's like solo show
Right.
talk, right? But I think that sentiment of being able to have something for everybody is good because say you got if you only make like $2 stickers or something, then like you kind of limit yourself from a big check or from a big possibility of somebody if they want to come in and invest. Like
Oh,
how do they help you if you're already so self-sufficient and you're making money, by selling these stickers? It's like, what do they just
right.
buy like a million stickers or something? It's like they're not gonna want that
Yeah.
many. And so you want to have something for those people too. But then,
I have like
you
certain volume to it.
right, you cover a lot of different bases. um, but then also, just for me, I
Mhm.
want to be able to so how like how Persuade, the artist Persuade, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he has like,
Amazing.
his characters and how he has like Bunny Kitty and Rilla and Michelle and
Mhm.
all the like the whole cast of characters. And he puts those things on anything and they sell like crazy. And
Uh-huh.
and they don't even necessarily sell because of what they are, but because of who's on them. And they
Yeah.
love those characters so much, they will
Yeah.
buy anything with their face on it. And my hope is to develop characters enough because I love characters and I love lovable characters so much to where
Yeah.
you can I would like to create something along those lines of something that is so lovable that it can go on anything. So it's like, for example, if you have something like Star Wars, the
Mm.
character Darth Vader, you
Oh
can
my god.
buy like a freaking life size, full body scale, movie grade replica of Darth Vader for like $50,000 if you want to.
Yeah.
But then you could also go up to like Walmart and get freaking Star Wars fruit snacks for like $2, you know? And it's like you cover all the bit. You can buy like a realistic lightsaber, you could buy a plastic joint, you could buy a
Uh
little
huh.
mask off Amazon, you could buy socks with the mug on it. You can I mean
Yeah.
there's so many different areas that you can put this guy on, and it's not the products, it's the guy. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping to be able to create characters that are lovable enough to do that. And
Yeah.
and I think that a story is important too. So I've been working on like developing a story, a world even that can support characters that are lovable like that. So
Very nice.
that's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's my goal with it.
I mean,
Mhm.
I totally agree to that. Like, I think that, especially in my case, um, the characters I do, like I said, come from like a ramen bowl.
Mhm.
I want to bring it all back together, telling a story that's more comforting, and hence comfort, because ramen is a comfort food, and I want to show the the emphasis, or the ramenness of how comforting the extension of that creation can be. Whether it's a comfort of healing from depression, or whether it's a comfort of like looking at a show that's like Mickey Mouse or like SpongeBob, but is in the replace of my characters or something like that. Or it can be something that, like you said, it can be like, like a toy or some kind of monetary item that you only can get through your own creation. Like, it's like a limited edition, such and such, or some kind of, and I want my things to be more like appliances too as well. So like, where it can be like dinner plates or special mugs that that may show this character in a certain way, and and may show that certain action that you see through my paintings only, but it's in the form of a mug or something like that. And I think that, to me, translates more of like being in that world that you created, immersing yourself more in that world by creating these products or these little takeaways that you left behind, that you can sell the idea even more to someone who's invested already, and they just want more of it. And
Mhm.
I think that is so important when it comes to, like, especially when you do like a lot of character based products, or like creations, is that like you want people to see every aspect of them. You want them to feel like that kind of like notion all the time. So I think that's important, personally.
Yeah, I think that the reason people love characters is because they connect with them somehow. And
Mm,
whether it's just the design is just visually appealing to you and it's something that just makes that inner child happy to see like, oh, this dude has freaking flaming gloves and that's just really cool. Or they might have a narrative or a story that they go through that is very relatable to you or is very like admirable that they went this direction and responded to the certain challenges that they
right.
did certain way, like Zuko from Avatar.
Oh my
People
gosh.
love Zuko because of his like his story. He was not the strongest. He
Mm-mm.
wasn't I don't even think he was the coolest character, not to me, but
Yeah. At first, I
but
thought he was a wuss. At first, I thought he was just like a crybaby, because I was like, "Oh, this kid has everything, and he's still whining, and he still is like,
mhm
I'm still not the best." And I'm like,
mhm
"What?" And you're trying to chase down someone who had literally his whole life stripped from him, and he doesn't even know who he is, but you know who he is, and you're like, "I want to be him," and I'm like, stronger than him, and I'm like, "What kind of person are you?" So I
mhm
was just be like, "Dang, like, who is this guy?"
yeah, and it helps you resonate with their story, and it's something that amazes me about that because I mean Zuko's not even a real person. This is something that
Right.
somebody sat down and wrote, something that somebody sat down
A persona.
and yeah, and just like drew up. He's a representation of certain people's experiences. And
Yeah.
I think that's what people love about it. I mean, people got Zuko tattoos.
Yeah.
People have named their kids and their pets Zuko. You know, like and it's because they love him so
Uh,
much. And
yeah.
man, and it's because a big part of it is through teaching people who that character is, and like
Yeah.
that character is gonna find their own audience and their own people that like that just love them to death.
I believe you're literally painting that signature even more when you show more of their persona and it relates to someone like that was in your classroom when you was like a kid and like you're like, oh, this reminds me of such and such, and you're like dang, like and then they invest you to find out more about that character, see if they even as they grow, if they're reminding you of someone else or the same person that so it's just like seeing that character development is so special because it's like it comes out of nowhere, but it relates to something, and it's like that's literally the epiphany of like making something out of nothing, but also pushing it further and making it something even more than what it originally was, and that's beautiful because like you just made a kid and you're seeing them grow.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, that's why I enjoy character design as much as I do. Um, I don't even know if I want. Well, yeah, I mean, it's character design. I would say character design so much in hopes of getting like character design jobs or something, but
Right,
it's
right, right, right. Character
but I
design,
think
character
just
design. Period.
right. But the broader term is really just like storytelling or character creation rather than just but I mean, it's the same. Character creation, character design. I mean, it's kind of potato potato, but
Yeah,
just
yeah.
storytelling in general and like just character development. I think is a
Oh my
good one.
gosh,
I think that's a
the
good one.
development to me is just like it's such a better understanding of it because it's like that it's just the design is one aspect, but then like the way it evolves is more of the development of how you're gonna take it, and I think that's such a special thing because then that shows your that's not just your professionalism, but like your character, your characteristics on how you perceive, um, uh, how you take something and make it more like your maturity of it. So it's just like if you want to take it more serious, then you start showing more aspects of it. It's not just a happy-go-lucky character. It has feelings. It cries. It has like a home to stay. It's not homeless. I used to always. Oh my gosh, there were so many times I've created characters and they were all homeless. Like they had no home. They had no background. They didn't they were just floating characters on a page.
They didn't even have
So it's just
hands. A lot of times they were behind the hands behind the back because you didn't
in the
draw no
pocket,
hands. Yeah, in
even worse. They were just like you didn't even know
in
they
the
had hands. They're just
pockets.
little cuts on the wrist, and I'm like, dang,
Yeah,
some dark character. So I'm
balling
like,
a fist, balling that
yeah.
fist up, boy. It's just a round fist.
So it's good to like give them like life because I used to be like, dang, every character I created was homeless, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna start making houses in the background, or I'm gonna start giving like lakes or something for them to go to. I'm like, these guys are not homeless. Like this woman
Mm,
actually has like a car or something like that, or so I start creating like little things that they deal with. Like I gave the cat some headphones. I'm like, the cat lives and listening to music. So, it's
right.
just like they're not just a character that looks cool. They're a character that goes through life just like we do
Yep.
and enjoy life as well.
Yep. And those are the ones that are the most successful, I think, is ones that people can relate to on a broad scale. I think even thinking about some of the icons like SpongeBob. Mickey
Oh my gosh,
Mouse.
yeah.
Like there's so many scenarios you'll see
Yeah.
SpongeBob in. That's why he's over. That's why he is like the king of like picture memes now. There is a
Yeah.
SpongeBob meme picture GIF for any situation in life. There is
Yes.
some
Oh
you
my
can
gosh.
find a clip of it in SpongeBob somewhere because I mean you've seen the dude in so many different scenarios. It's you will find some version of SpongeBob to relate to.
And the magical part is that he did it all underwater. And
Right.
like and that lets you know that like your possibilities of like trying to create that picture does not limit you because of logic. Like a lot of people throw logic in there and they're like, "Oh, I can't do it because his head is too big and his head can't fit through this circle and because it's square." And I'm like, well, why can't you make his head twist because he's a sponge and
Right.
he can fit through that circle and like make it make sense for yourself. Like
Yeah.
don't try to make sense for a invisible audience that's telling you can't do it. Like
Yeah.
don't do that to yourself.
There's even I was talking about this subject to AJ Howard. We had him on the show one time and
Oh,
he
nice.
said, yeah, he had a great conversation. He spoke about the fact that in Dragon Ball Z the president is a dog and nobody
Oh
questions
yeah.
it.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like I mean, logic would have talked you way out of that. Like, how's a dog gonna run a country? That's crazy talk. But it just is, and that's just what it is, and nobody questions it. And so you especially when you're making the world, you get to make the rules. You get to tell people what's what. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's kind of like what we were speaking about earlier when you're like asking people like what you should envision, what you should do. It's like no, you set the tone. You say what's in
Yeah.
stone and people can choose to either like it or not. And I mean, and that's on them.
Right. And
Hmm.
however you take that, you will get closer to the people that are really invested in your vision. And I think that's what being in this world is about. Like you can't everyone can't love your work. Like that's just not going to happen. So with the time that you have on this earth and with the people that you interact with or individuals that you may interact with, try to make it the best experience that you can. Like it's not, you know, we're meant to leave like legacies and memories, but not meant to like um make something permanent to where it's supposed to be unchangeable, like, or it can't evolve from something else. Like the reason why a lot of art is similar is because some artists passed on to something somebody else and they took that and they passed it on to someone else, and it doesn't mean that like they stole it or anything. They just took it and from the root or in adapted to their nature.
Yep.
And there's nothing, I think there's nothing wrong with that because it's like it shows growth in us as humanity, as a creative world, as our creative community. It shows volume that we are willing to adjust and adapt and become even more creative. Like so it's just like that makes this awesome. Like so like I'm looking at some of my ancestors or some of my creative ancestors because not everyone's connected in like that family, but we have a bigger creative family that we're all connected to because you invested your life to that creative world. So when you see Basquiat be like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a crown," and then you see someone like Joe King, he's like, "I'm gonna do a crown, but I'm gonna do a crown with other abstract individuals or someone that's from Atlanta." You know what I mean? Like you're showing a connection to something that has a certain hierarchy, and then you have like someone else in Atlanta that has a certain hierarchy, but they're different scales because that person is like New York and this person's like Atlanta, and you're making a connection through a common image, but you're you're breathing different life into it.
Yep.
So it's like I think that's important to show because people always try to put things in boxes and try to show like, oh, this is the same thing. And I'm like, no, this is not the same thing because this is done decades ago. This was done now. And they did it with these colors, and that person did it with that colors. And, it's just like, don't try to put things always in the box before you covered all the ground yet. You know what I mean? Like, you have to cover the ground first, and then you can maybe make your justification of what it is. But before you do it, just give people the leeway or the grace, instead of like criticizing them for like, oh, you reference such and such. I'm like, yeah, of course, because they're part of my family. They're part of the people that I've like been researching over the years, and I accept as my brother or sister, in the creative world. So it's
Yep.
just like, I
And
think that's
that's
important.
yeah. I mean, I think people just like to make sense of stuff initially because people, especially people who aren't very creative, they
Hmm.
they need things to make sense. Like I used
Yeah.
to go back and forth with my uncle all the time because he's like very scientific, very like he went to school for like engineering. He works on
Oh my gosh.
like
Yeah.
AC and refrigeration units, and so like
Oh,
he's I say like I always used to say I think on blank paper and he thinks on graph paper, and we would
that is
always
funny.
clash because he's trying to put me in the box and I'm trying to break out of the box. Like and he wasn't
Uh,
doing it in any mean kind of way. He was just like,
right.
"Oh, you're this kind of artist. Or you're this kind of guy. Or you're this kind of." And I'm like, "No, I mean, I did that and that's like this, but that doesn't mean I'm this kind of person." Or I
Right.
do one painting like this. "Oh, so you're this kind of uh
Mm.
this kind of style of art now." And I'm like, I mean, this painting was this style, but that doesn't mean I'm that kind of artist. And so we would just go back and forth all the time. It's like he was trying to just like capture me in this little cage or something, and I
Little
was like
capsule.
not going for it. And it's just because
Time
his
capsule.
brain, right? And it's just like because his brain needs things to make sense,
Yeah.
and I can have a little bit more leeway, and I can definitely have that too. I definitely like for things to
Hmm.
make sense, even in a creative
Yeah.
sense. But I think that he's just got that notch turned, like he's got it turned all the
All
way over.
all dialed up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's just it has to fit together. It has to add
It
up to
has to
10.
solidify.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like people making cement, and they're like, oh, I have to fill this up to full capacity in order for it to make sense. In order for me to walk on this pavement, it has to solidify in the way that I want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And
this
so.
curve, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like you're paving the way that you want to pave your way, and they're like, oh, that's not a road, that's a trail. And I'm like, no, that's a road. I made it as a road. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, don't try to change it into something else, because you experienced something else. And I don't think that that should be, something that you should take away from someone. Like, their imagination is their imagination.
Yeah.
Like, and yours is yours. So you decide, you know, where you cut off from that point. But that person's gonna keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. I mean, you're entitled to your own opinion and your own interpretation. Um,
Yeah.
but that works on both sides. You don't have to force your belief on other people, and they don't have to do that to you either. It's just is what it is. I think it's
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 what it
just like
is.
the Easter egg thing that we spoke about. It's just
Yes.
more possibilities, making connections, and you
Mm.
take it. You don't have to accept it. You can just have it. And that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you can leave it behind. Someone else can pick it up and be like, "Oh, this is mine." Someone else's treasure. Someone's trash, someone else's treasure. That whole saying. So I mean,
Hmm.
yeah.
Man, the it's so frustrating. I could sit here and just talk to you for like just through the rest of the night, just easy.
Oh my
And
gosh,
it's like that's the tough part about this. It's like the
dude! I
conversation has to
forgot
come
what
to an
time it
end.
is. I literally had to click my TV monitor because my tablet died, and so like I'm looking like the sun went down, and I know that there's no noise outside, so I know that it's late.
Yeah. It's getting up there. It's
It's getting up there. Okay.
about 10 here. So,
Oh my
um,
goodness.
yeah, but I mean, man, it's been an amazing conversation. And I thank you once again for coming and
Oh,
sitting and talking with me, for a couple hours. I think that um you've shared a lot of good knowledge on being your own person, and being humble, but not letting people step on you, and like having the courage to pursue your own path. And I think that that shows, not only in what you were explaining, but just when you look at your own life and you look at your own work. And I think that the work that you're doing, is super inspirational, and it's helpful to people in the community. And I can see,
thank
I mean, just even the kind of person that you are, it's representative of the types of connection that you preach, that people need to make. Because I know one thing: if I'm ever at an event and I see you there, I feel like I have somebody in my corner anytime. And so
Oh
I
man,
appreciate you for
dude.
being one of those people and for being one of those artists.
Thank you. So, look, same way, dude. Like I feel like we're connected in so many different ways, and the more we have interactions with each other, it brings us together, and we understand more about each other, and know that like, oh, I'm not alone in this world when it comes to these kind of situations. Like I can literally talk to you and be like, oh, you can understand a certain aspect that I've gone through, because you tried it, and it's like, oh, I got certain things out of it too. So it's just like, I love that feeling of be able to connect with one another and like still be okay. Like it's just like, like not completely lose it. Like I think that's what it's all about. Like
Absolutely.
you do something you love and also may make a friend.
Yep. I think that's it was a quote from Cole Arthur Riley that I really enjoy. I don't know if it was her quote or if she quoted somebody
Oh,
else, but she said it. I heard her say it,
oh,
was grief shared is half grief. Joy shared is double joy. And
oh my god.
so with that, it just helps me remember that, like, when you had right. It was crazy. And it just helps me remember that, like, people around you, having people in your corner is very helpful for the good and the bad.
Yeah,
And it just makes life sweeter, and it makes life, um just more worth living.
yeah,
And so it's important to have connections and keep connections. And um that's part of the inspiration from doing this anyway, like, just really wanting to know who the people are around me, man. I've
yeah.
known you
Who's
for
around me?
years.
Like, yeah. I'm like, I see them all the time. We have conversations. We go hang out, but like, are they Batman?
Yeah,
Like I
where
don't
is
know.
he from? I don't know. Well, dog. What's his favorite color? I don't know.
Is he
And
emo?
uh, it's like, are you sure that's your homie? You sure? Right. And it's just, I don't know. I enjoy being able to sit down and have conversations like this. And so, yeah, man, I'm just super hyped that you were down to do this. And I
Yeah.
think this has been a great time. And so I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you. I mean, I definitely always going to be a supporter in certain businesses and adventures like this. It's just a good slice of joy. So I just, yeah, I'm all for it, and I hope that you accomplish more and more interactions with other individuals that are just as special as you and me. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate it. Who, now that you've been through this type of conversation, who would you suggest to be on the show in the future? Who would you like to
oh
see?
gosh. Woo. There's so many, you know me. I know so many people.
Mm-hmm.
But personally for me, I have a friend of mine. Well, I have multiple friends of mine, of course. But like there's someone that I see all the time, every once in a while, and they always invite me out. Her name is Rylan. Uh
Rylan? Mm-hmm.
Yes. And she does a lot of content creation, and she has this really big channel of individuals, and she's been opening up a YouTube uh, kind of a channel, and she's been growing a platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, like she does fashion, and she does cosplay, and she's an individual that you would least expect to be as, I don't know, like you look at her and you be like, she's so diverse, but like it just goes from there. Like it's much more than what you see already. So
Mm-hmm.
like she, so I would say look look to her, and also her boyfriend, which is Sleepyhead, which is another individual who literally, to me, I think he's like the neighborhood famous guy, who's literally does free art for a living, and
For
you
a
know
living. What
yeah,
you eating? How
he
you
does.
paying the
I mean, he has a
bills?
day job. I mean, he has like a
Oh,
day
okay.
job, but
Word,
like,
word, word, word.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but like his catch is um, like he gives out more, and it life gives back more. And
Mm.
it's like you'll see it in his work, and you'll see it in the things that he does. They both kind of like replicate that kind of aspect, but it's just in their own creative way. And
Interesting.
they are creatives that I've been around and going to concerts with too as well, and going to conventions, and I'm like, I just love being in their world. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Mm.
So I'll reach out to them. There's many others. I'll leave a list for you. I probably will text you about it
All right, bet.
because I don't want to
Cool.
leave you, too much long on this talk. But it's just, yeah, those are two ones that I never mentioned really so much. I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned so many other people within this podcast that I'll have you reach out to as well. But it's those two individuals I believe are just they just inspire people.
Mm.
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely check
Definitely
them
check
out.
out their Instagram. You'll be very amazed.
Mm. I want to see it. I'm gonna look them up as soon as we get off this.
All right,
Well,
bro.
cool, man.
I guess we're signing off. Man, that was a great talk. Oh gosh.
Yeah,
That was
I had
great.
a great time. I had a great time, man. And I'm glad you enjoyed it too.
Yeah, and I appreciate anyone who tuned in and checked out, what I had to say, because sometimes I can ramble. So
No, it's all good. This podcast is ramble friendly. Ramble as much as you like. Um, so can you give us an outro? Let us know where people can find you
oh,
and where they can support you.
okay. Yeah. You can support me mainly on like uh kind of like TikTok, Instagram, or you can probably find me uh out and about on either Tuesday nights at High Contrast. Sometimes I'm there, or monthly I will be hosting like a mural meetup, and it's going to be more like workshops and things that people can do that are more than just murals, but maybe like printmaking or glass blowing, if we can get that together. But I want to do things, there are activities like that monthly as possible at neighborhoods, in a friend's backyard or somebody else's place. So you can find me there, and like I said, you can find me on social media, MonkPanda _.
MonkPanda _ Bet.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put that in the chat so that people can know. Well, thank you once again, man, and you be safe.
you too, man. We'll catch up. We gotta get this collab together.
Yes, I'm gonna send you a sketch here in the next day or so. We'll get it
All
cracking.
right. Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited. All right, peace,
Cool.
bro.
All right, dog. See ya.
See ya. Good night.
Thank you so much for watching the episode. One of my favorite things about doing this podcast is hearing about when someone resonates with something we said. It's truly the reason I continue to make these happen. Comment down below what stuck with you, and we can continue the discussion further. Also consider liking and subscribing. It helps me bring in more amazing creatives and helps me make this show better for you all every episode. Catch y'all next week.